This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Game on, Dude leads them. Game on, Dude. Gonna write his way into the history books. Game on, Dude. And Mike Smith have won the Santa Anita Handicap.
They approach the 8th pole in the Santa Isabel, and Midnight Bisou, let go by Smith, shoots clear from 13 squared. Midnight Bisou, after breaking her maiden in a graded stakes, now conquers 2 turns in the Santa Isabel. She wins by a little over 2 lengths.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
100 yards to come. Street Sense, any given Saturday. Down to the wire. It's Street Sense, any given Saturday. Is right back at him. These two heads apart. Too close to call. Might have been Street Sense in a fabulous race. Running time on the board, 1 minute, 43 seconds flat for the Tampa Bay Derby.
Midnight Hawk battling in second, but it's all California Chrome as they come for home. They would need to sprout wings to get to California Chrome. Absolutely romping in under Victor Espinosa. San Felipe was a walkover for California Chrome.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Good morning once again, everyone. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, welcoming you to the show that launched a network. It is the Equine Forum. It is all presented by TwinSpires and all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. As always, you are listening coast to coast across North America on Sirius 162, XM 207, along with our terrestrial partners, and live streaming worldwide on our website, horseracingradio.net. And don't forget, too, if you miss any portion of this show or any of the shows that we bring your way every single week here on HRRN, you can go back to our website, listen to the podcast, or you can do that, too, on your favorite podcast platform. Wherever you get your podcasts, follow along with the Horse Racing Radio Network and make us your home as we barrel down the road to the first Saturday in May, which is only 8 weeks away. Only 8 weeks until the Kentucky Derby. And the stakes are really high on both coasts this afternoon with the Tampa Bay Derby in Florida, the San Felipe at Santa Anita. You have 50 points going to the winner in both of those races. So a victory in either one likely guarantees you a chance to run for the Roses. 50 points, even if you have nothing in your bankroll right now, likely gets you into the field. If you don't run your race today, it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on your next start, where you would absolutely need to run well in order to punch your ticket. I say it every year, this time of the season, it is horse racing's version of the NCAA's March Madness. It's here. Trainer Brad Cox, he knows all about the ups and downs that this time of year can provide. And he's as good as anyone at guiding his horses down the road to Louisville. Last weekend, he watched Commandment tally his 3rd consecutive win, which places him now in the upper echelon of Kentucky Derby contenders. And maybe he goes to the head of the class. Now, Paladin's still out there, I get it. And there's some other talented renegades, certainly. We're going to see Brant later today. Further Ado, another one for Brad Cox, who goes in the Tampa Bay Derby, the likely favorite this afternoon. But what Commandment has done, he's proven that he can string big wins together and do them in impressive fashion. He's exciting. Now today, Brad's hoping that Further Ado will follow suit and take care of business in the Tampa Bay Derby. Further Ado already has 10 points in the bank. So a second place finish today, which would get him another 25, giving him a total of 35, puts him right there on the Derby bubble. And he still has one more prep race to go, which wouldn't necessarily be a win and you're in order to get in, because he'd have 35 points. So anything above that gives him a good chance to get in. So it takes the pressure off, even if he finishes second today. But you're the favorite in the Tampa Bay Derby. You don't want to put that pressure on you in your next start when you can guarantee your spot with a victory today. And Brad's in great shape. Todd Pletcher is in good shape. We'll see him in the Tampa Bay Derby. Chad Brown is in great shape. We'll see him in the Tampa Bay Derby. Bob Baffert, as I mentioned, sending out Brant and the San Felipe. That's a horse with a lot of promise. Which of those trainers that I just mentioned is most likely to win this year's Kentucky Derby? Is it Todd Pletcher? Is it Chad Brown, Bob Baffert, or Brad Cox? That is my poll question for you here on this Saturday morning. When you take a look at what, and by the way, you can go vote on our social media pages at HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, another way to weigh in on that poll question. And if you don't do social media, email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, to let me know your thoughts, and I'll pass along the results as we move throughout the program. Which of those trainers currently holds the strongest hand, if you will? I just told you about Brad Cox and some of his top 3-year-olds. How about Todd Pletcher? Nearly, Class President, and Renegade, I guess, would be his top 3. Chad Brown, Paladin, Canaletto, what's he, 5-2, second choice today in the Tampa Bay Derby. And Gotham winner Iron Honor. Not bad. And then Baffert with Brant, Boyd, Cherokee Nation. Maybe the most to prove there. Some serious ability, but they have to deliver and prove that they belong in this conversation with horses like Paladin, who have already proven themselves. Class President, who has now proven himself. Nearly. Listen, all of those horses, we talk about it every week. They still have more to prove. But at least to this point, we know Paladin can run. We know Class President can handle the distance, can run. We know Brad Cox is sitting there with a pretty good hand. With Commandment and Further Ado. But again, they have to, Further Ado in particular, has to prove that he's developed from 2 to 3 when he returns in the Tampa Bay Derby this afternoon. It's an interesting question. When Dale and Tim join me at the end of the program, 10:30 Eastern, our final segment here today, I'm going to ask them that question. As a matter of fact, our friend Shane in North Carolina, who submits a question for that show almost every week, came up with that. So I'll give him his credit. I think it's a great question. Which trainer is holding the biggest triple threat at this point? Could be Pletcher, could be Chad Brown, could be Bob Baffert, and Brad Cox looking to get him into the mix with a couple of talented runners too. So make sure you weigh in on that poll question for us here this morning. Brad Cox, that's not the only race he's running in today, of course, at Tampa Bay Downs. He also has Disco Time, another talented runner in the Grade 3 Challenger Stakes. He has Destino d'Oro in the Hillsborough Stakes, Grade 2, which is the 9th race on the program at Tampa Bay today. And then it's Santa Anita. It's Big Cap Day at Santa Anita. The Big Cap this year is not the Big Cap we're used to seeing, right? Not historically. This is a race that has incredible history. It has had some of the greatest horses we have ever seen in the sport of thoroughbred racing win it. And even if they didn't win it, they competed in it. And there's some of the biggest names in our sport historically. Not this year. Brad sends out Just a Touch in the Big Cap. Just a Touch is a really nice horse. Just a Touch has never won a Grade 1 race. Maybe today is the day. He's after the defections of Skippy Longstocking and Westwood, Just a Touch is now going to be a favorite in a 5-horse Santa Anita handicap. And when you really dive into it, it's hard to see the Santa Anita handicap continuing to be what it once was when you're offering a purse of just $300,000. Now, you're offering a Grade 1 status, but the money's not there. Not when you're talking about all of the other opportunities that are out there for horsemen. The Pegasus World Cup, Dubai World Cup. We'll talk more about that in just a minute with the situation in the Middle East. What's going to happen there? The Oaklawn Handicap coming up. There are plenty of other opportunities that are going to offer more money. The Saudi Cup, that are going to offer more money than what you're going to get in this, and that's why this year's field doesn't have a runner in there that's ever won a Grade 2 or a Grade 1. But it is still a Grade 1. And it is still an historic race, and it is still a fantastic race to add to your resume if you can find a way to win it. One of the cool stories in there, outside of Brad Cox and Just a Touch, is trainer Aggie Ordonez, who is going to try to win it with vodka. What a cool story this would be. Aggie is also sending out Almond Joy in the Grade 1 B. Wayne Hughes Beholder Mile earlier in the program. And that's a short field, so it goes as race number 4. Both of the Grade 1s lacking in numbers, but Almond Joy, California-bred champion, trying to find a way to get to the highest level with that win in the Grade 1 Beholder Mile this afternoon. Vodka trying to do the same. And with only 5 horses in that big cap now, and no world beater, if you will, Vodka has a shot. And what a cool story it would be. You're going to hear from both Brad Cox and Aggie Ordonez later in the program. Brad's set to join me right around 9:40 Eastern at the end of hour number 2. Aggie will join me just before Brad, right around 9:20 Eastern. Stay tuned for those two interviews. They should be a lot of fun. I'm also going to talk about the Azeri, which takes place at Oaklawn today. Going to do that with Dan Ward. Majestic Oops is entering in there, going to try to take down the champ, Nitrogen, who is a huge favorite on the morning line and will likely be a huge favorite when the gates open. She figures to be a handful. Can Majestic Oops find a way to play the role of the giant killer this afternoon? Dan Ward would be doing the same thing. He'll join me here on the program. And then we'll talk more about Big Cap Day and all of the races associated with that program, all the stakes races. Jeff Chapman does a great job handicapping at Santa Anita. He'll be with me on the show today as well. So here's your full lineup for you here this morning. Eric Hamelback from the National HBPA, the CEO. They just finished their national conference in Arkansas. He's going to join me coming up in a few minutes after this first break. We'll get a chance to talk about some of the topics which are hot-button topics at that conference. Dan Ward at 8:35, talking about the Azeri. 9 o'clock is Jeff Chapman. 9:20, Aggie Ordonez. 9:40, Brad Cox with this week's Kentucky-bred conversation. Plenty of things to get into with Brad, who himself is a Kentucky-bred, growing up in the shadows of those TwinSpires of Churchill Downs. The TwinSpires Triple Play with Ashley Anderson comes your way at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Begin hour 3. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. March is considered optimistic month. So Kurt thought it would be fun with his first story of March here in 2026 to focus on a horse named Optimistic Gale. Nobody weaves a story together like Kurt Becker, so you won't want to miss that at 10:20. 10:30, Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin with I Ask, They Answer. It is a busy show. We're talking about big racing, coast to coast, and even in between. We'll get to it in just a few moments, but first, this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. Lee Delapina has it for you right now.
Thank you, Mike. This week's Impossible Trivia question is brought to you by Mojo Racing Partners. Get your mojo working at mojoracingpartners.com. Now, here's another one that's not entirely impossible. Maybe you can figure it out. Who is the oldest living Kentucky Derby winning horse? And how old is he? No Googling. We'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
Yeah, maybe not the most impossible. I will give you a hint here this morning on this one. This horse recently celebrated a birthday. Maybe you didn't need the hint, but if you did, I hope it helps you. Get your mojo working. The answer coming your way. Final segment of the show right around 10:55 Eastern. Eric Hamelback kicks us off next. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Coolmore Stallion Corniche, a $1.5 million OBS April sale topper by Quality Road and a 2-time Grade 1 winner.
But it's Corniche! He's just too good! Corniche wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile!
Voted champion 2-year-old male following his win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, it's no surprise his 72 yearlings sold for an average of over $170,000, with a top-price colt of $725,000 and a top-price filly of $525,000. Corniche standing for only $15,000 at Coolmore's Ashford Stud.
The road to the Kentucky Derby once again passes through Colonial Downs. On Saturday, March 14th, the $500,000 Virginia Derby will be run as a Road to the Kentucky Derby points race. Last year's winner, American Promise, went on to run in the Derby and Preakness. Join us for a history-making day that also includes the $250,000 Virginia Oaks, a Kentucky Oaks points race. Colonial Downs Spring Meet runs March 12th through March 14th. Host time 12:30 Eastern Thursday and Friday, noon Eastern on Virginia Derby Day, Saturday, March 14th.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They come to the top of the lane. Game On Dude strikes the front. Twirling Candy. Setsuko's running a huge race on the outside. Heads a turn for home in the big one. Setsuko on the outside. Twirling Candy. Oh, a lot of bumping going on. Game On Dude shifted out. Game On Dude goes on. Setsuko. Quindici Man. Twirling Candy can find no more. And it's Setsuko in full flight. Game On Dude on the inside. Quindici Man flying late. Setsuko. Game On Dude. So close. Maybe Game On Dude, but it's so close. Setsuko's there. Quindici Man was third. And Soul Candy came from last to get fourth.
Trevor Denman bringing them home 15 years ago. 2011, Game On Dude capturing the first of his 3 Santa Anita handicaps. Boy, was he good. No Game On Dude among this year's field, that's for certain, but some competitive horses, and we're going to talk about that race moving throughout the program here today. You know, and that's not a knock on the other horses when I say no Game On Dude among that group. The Game On Dude, I'm shocked he's not in the Hall of Fame. I've given him my vote the last couple of years when he's been nominated. He's nominated again this year. I will vote for Game On Dude to be in the Hall of Fame. He's brilliant. What a fantastic career for Game On Dude. You win 3 big caps and all the other races that he was able to win. It's just shocking to me that he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. I'll do my best to get him in there when I cast my vote again this season. Eric Hamelback is the CEO of the National HBPA. I'm pretty certain he would agree with me that Game On Dude should be in the Hall of Fame. What do you think, Eric?
Absolutely. Not only Game On Dude, I'm still trying to get his sire in there. We need to get Awesome again in there. But, having raised Game On Dude, I wasn't expecting that. I'm sitting there getting goosebumps thinking about Bill Graves, God rest his soul. He came down and we looked at yearlings down at Adena South, and he was one of my crops that year, and I was very proud of him. Just thought he was going to be a really good racehorse, and I think just the fact that we did cut him, and that was good because he was one tough sucker, but man, he was a hell of a racehorse.
Yeah, Game On Dude. Awesome again. You're right. I mean, how on earth is Awesome again not a Hall of Fame?
I don't know. I joke back and forth with Tom Law all the time, and Jill Byrne, of course, was right there with that whole run with Awesome, and keep trying for Game On Dude. He was something special.
Eric, what a week you had in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I know you're still there.
Yep.
And I appreciate you getting up early with me here this morning too to handle this segment. But I wanted to look back at some of the key points that were discussed and some of the highlights of the National HBPA conference, which just concluded this week. Tell me a little bit about some of the things that stood out to you, my friend.
Well, thank you, Mike. It has been a great conference. It's always difficult putting these things together and knowing how timely panels will be, or sometimes not be. So, we get lucky every once in a while and really nailed timing on a lot of these panels. But, once again, we had a panel that kind of focused on where we are with the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act and some of the litigation, but also some of the progress that's been made. So that panel was, I think, very well accepted. And then, we had a really fun panel with Marshall Graham, Tom Van Berg, and Robbie Medina, just talking about, the perspective of owners and trainers that, might not be household names, but, where they are in this environment and the struggles, but the positives, and really, really had a fun time with that panel. Was, having Everett Dobson here as the keynote speaker was a big highlight for me, just because I think, there's a lot going on in the industry, some out in the public, some behind the scenes, but it's a really good time for collaboration. And I think Everett is bringing a new perspective to the Jockey Club, which I appreciate. I've known Everett for many years. He was very supportive of it, Awesome Again in particular, with his farm there in Kentucky. So I think that was a good timing for both of our organizations to kind of have that time for him to be the keynote was good timing. And then, of course, everyone's talking about now the prediction market wagering, I think, is certainly what is an emerging threat, is what I kind of tagged. Some of the perspectives of our panel were really spot on. We have to be prepared as an industry to look at any creeping that they may do into our industry. So that was also extremely good panel that was well received.
Eric, expand a little bit more upon that. What exactly is prediction market wagering, and what effect could it have on horse racing?
So the scenario that's going on now, or you're seeing across the country, is they call it prediction market. I always throw in the word wagering, because if you can, and some of your listeners, I'm sure, if not many of them, have gone on and seen Kalshi as an app, and you can make a wager on different things throughout the world that are going on right now, whether it's, will a hurricane hit at a certain spot, yes or no? It started, I don't know how many years ago, but it really started as a campaign prediction tool. And those polls that you see a lot of times on election nights, where they talk about the percent of winning and this, that, and the other, and it really started there. So now what they've done is starting to creep into, normal everyday life and also sports. And so when you see a bet on, which app is going to be downloaded during Derby week, right? That was one that they did last year, and they give you 4 choices. You put your money in just like any other ADW, and you have it there, and you make a wager. And then now all of a sudden you see multiple states suing because they are not following or adhering to states' rules and regulations with result to gambling. And they have this veil of what they think is protection, because they feel like they're only governed by federal regulations under the CFTC. And so when you look at horse racing, fast forward now to horse racing, I think, but very few, but we are one of the only industries that would be protected under a federal bill, and of course that's the Interstate Horse Racing Act. So having that panel explain, probably better than I did, what prediction markets is and how we need to be prepared to protect horse racing, whether it be through litigation But also there are opportunities. That's the other side to look at is there a partnership that we can develop a revenue sharing model and have prediction markets available, as a wager within horse racing. So it's something for us to keep an eye on as an industry. One of the things that Everett Dobson and I strongly agree on is watching and making sure prediction markets and those companies don't start to creep in to horse racing without having a revenue sharing model like you would any other ADW signal.
So when we joke around about, hey, that guy would bet on two birds sitting on a wire to see which one is going to fly off first. Now it's a real thing.
Yes, literally.
Yeah.
And when I say they're kind of crossing the line, and I'm sure some of your listeners probably even know more than I do about it, but they've crossed the line a little bit last week in particular with the pending war, or the war going on in Iran right now. There was actually a prediction market wager on one of the Ayatollahs being killed. And that's where, you start to think about, okay, that's a little, that's too much. And so they've actually gotten into a bit of trouble with that one. And so we'll see how that pans out. But, you can imagine there's no restrictions on, or I should say protections for, a 17, 15, 14-year-old kid getting on there. They don't follow the same rules that responsible gaming entities have to follow, and that's what's making it a problem.
You mentioned the keynote address from Jockey Club Chair Everett Dobson. Everett and much of the Jockey Club has been in the crosshairs of owner Mike Rapoli on social media in recent months. Tell me about his message. What did he want to get across in his speech?
I think the message really revolved around the understanding that we have to come together as an industry on certain things, but it's okay to disagree. Obviously he knows very well that the National HBPA is in litigation with the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act, but even himself said at his address during the Jockey Club Roundtable back in the summer, there are things that need to be fixed with HISA, and especially when it comes to the fees and the charge that they are putting on the industry, and that's not sustainable. But the collaborative nature of his message, I think, rang true with all of my audience, and understanding that now the Jockey Club is not there to dictate. They are there to cooperate and work with other entities. And he was pretty open about the fact that he needs the time to get around and talk to everybody. Obviously, the Jockey Club's been on a certain direction for, 40-something years, but it's not going to be easy to just turn tides and make changes. He needs the time to get his hands around everything that's going on now. But yeah, he didn't, and nor did I expect him to address the attacks from Mike Rapoli. Whether you think they're warranted or not, I think that it just proves that in this day and age, you have to be pretty transparent and open up and understand what everybody else is going through. So from that standpoint, I appreciate Mike, making things come to light, and having, everyone in the industry understand that today's a new day. The industry needs to be moving in a better direction, and here's some things we can do to change.
Eric, what things do you take away from the conference that can, steer the industry in the right direction almost immediately? Were there a couple of things that you could point to?
Well, I think, collaborating around making sure we have protections over this prediction market wagering, that's something that needs to be done immediately, and I think is being done. I've spoken to Tom Rooney about this, and obviously with Everett Dobson, there are people that we need to be prepared to litigate or come to the table with these folks quickly, so they don't have a negative impact on horse racing. For me, that was very apparent. The other thing, too, and I didn't touch on this yet, but the panel that we did on artificial intelligence. Obviously, AI has been around for a long time, but how does it help our industry? I had a great panel, including John Julia, owner, breeder from Pennsylvania, but AI is his world. And those are the things with, Kyle McDonald was up there with Equibase. Those are the things that, can help us now and understanding AI and make the industry more efficient. So that is another thing that I feel will come out of here and be something that we can grasp onto very quickly.
Eric, I've got to get to a commercial break here in just a minute, but I don't want to let you go before I ask you about my man TwinSpires, who spent a full hour with me on Trainer Talk a couple of weeks ago, and it was so much fun, so inspirational. TwinSpires is what horse racing is all about, and he was honored as an HBPA living legend.
I tell you, it was very emotional. I said from the stage I had met Jinx when I believe I was 15. Growing up here in North Louisiana and working Oaklawn and Louisiana Downs as a kid, it was pretty special for me. When we told him that we were recognizing him as a living legend, we did not know that it was going to be his last year of training. So that was pretty much a shock. But to have, his whole family from Rivervale, Arkansas, he joked from the stage that hope nothing happened in his hometown because all the people were here in the room. But his family was just so emotional, and it was just an amazing thing. And I have to give a shout out to Nancy Holtis who interviewed him from the stage, and she's amazing at being able to coordinate a discussion like that, and the emotion. Jinx broke up a couple of times, and you could see the tears, and it was just a very special time for a very special man who's had a very special career and has touched so many lives.
The podcast of that Trainer Talk conversation available on our website and your favorite podcast platform. So do yourself a favor, go back and listen to Jinx. He was fantastic. As was Eric Hamelback here this morning. Eric, appreciate the visit, brother. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate your time.
You got it. Eric Hamelback, CEO of the National HBPA. Time now for your Legends of the Turf segment. Short commercial break. When I come back, we stick with Oaklawn Park in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Dan Ward joins me to talk about Majestic Oops trying to take down nitrogen in the Azeri later today. That's next after your Legends of the Turf.
In late July of 1964, a well-matched field answered the call to post for the running of the Brooklyn Handicap over 10 furlongs. In that stellar field were Kelso with Milo Valenzuela in the saddle, Gunbow with Walter Blum at the controls, and Iron Peg with the shoe Willie Shoemaker up. There were 8 total starters, but the consensus was that the race would be decided amongst these 3, and consensus prevailed in what turned out to be a memorable performance by the eventual winner. A lot happened during the race, and a lot happened before. As the 8-horse field was loaded into the gate, Kelso knelt down in his stall as though preparing to pray. Rather than getting up on his feet, he reared back and sat on his haunches. It seemed totally out of context for the grand old champion, who had been calm in both the paddock and during the parade to post, but for whatever reason, he was rank indeed at the gate. In fact, the starting gate went slightly askew as he went to his knees. Kelso had injured himself in the very same way while in training in California once before, and that had cost him the winter of racing. When Valenzuela and an assistant starter finally got Kelso righted, starter George Cassidy got the field away immediately and in good order. Kelso broke alertly enough, but by the time the field had gone barely an eighth of a mile, he had dropped well back into 7th place. By the stands they went and on into the clubhouse turn, with Gunbow under Walter Blum setting the pace and breezing along uncontested while increasing his lead. Around the turn and on into the backside, Gunbow opened up a margin so commanding it looked like a one-horse race with the rest of the field far in arrears. Iron Peg, the suburban winner under Shoemaker, had been the one that figured to prompt the pace, but he had all he could do to just keep close enough to have Gunbow in sight. You couldn't find the rest of the field with a sheriff's warrant. By the time they had gone 5 furlongs, Kelso was so far back that Valenzuela began whipping him to try to close some part of what was a monumental gap to Gunbo, and there was half the race yet to be run. Gunbo reeled off sensational fractions on the front end, and no doubt a great many of the crowd stole a look at the teletimer to check the fractions. At the top of the stretch, with still a quarter of a mile left to run, it was all over but the yelling, with the only remaining question to be answered was what the final margin of victory would be, and of course the final time. Blum was in the proverbial catbird seat for the entire trip, opening up a lead of 7, then 9, 10, and finally 12 lengths, the winning margin. He had never faced any kind of a challenge at all for the entire 10 furlongs. The final time was the expected sensational 1:59.3. Until this race, Gunbo became the first and only horse to have ever clocked less than 2 minutes for the distance in New York. Kelso appeared to have suffered no ill effect from the incident at the gate, returning after the race in good shape with no soreness. It was, very simply, that Gunbo had had his day, and a 5-star effort indeed it was. July 1964, in the running of the Brooklyn Handicap.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
He points him in the right direction, and he is gone. Steel Sunshine looks like he needs room to try to get into second. He just found that room to try to outrun Flying Liam, but the Gulfstream Mile is a stroll in the park for Knightsbridge. He's an 8-length winner.
Knightsbridge, the son of Darley Stallion Nyquist, tallied his 4th consecutive victory with that emphatic win in the Grade 3 Gulfstream Park Mile. It was his 3rd consecutive graded victory. Knightsbridge registered a 112 buyer, second highest only to Sovereignty's 115 over the last year and a half. He is now pointing to the Grade 1 Churchill Downs Stakes on Derby Day. And that brilliant win makes Knightsbridge your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Nyquist, the sire of 3 graded stakes winners already in 2026. Only not this time, has more. Learn about Nyquist and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Gloriette in the red blinkers has a head in front. Esternia is right there to her inside, not asked for her best yet. Benedetta counting outside for the stretch drive is 3rd, 3 deep as they come off the turn. Gloriette, Esternia in an all-out drive, and here comes Majestic Oops. Majestic Oops let loose between horses by Francisco Arrieta, and Majestic Oops has taken the lead with a furlong to go. Esternia is 2nd, Benedetta 3rd, then Gloriette coming to the finish. Majestic Oops confidently handled here. Could not have won this easier. In 2026, her first start of the year is a win, and a decisive one in the American Beauty. Majestic Oops doing it nicely.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you up until 11 a.m. Eastern. That was Matt Dinnerman with a call of the American Beauty. An impressive victory for Majestic Oops to kick off her 6-year-old campaign for trainer Dan Ward. She's back in action today, but the water's much, much deeper. Is she ready for the assignment? When she steps into the starting gate today, she will look to her left and she will see champion Nitrogen from the barn of Mark Casse. That will be her assignment today. Can she find a way to get past Nitrogen and everybody else? We know she's talented. We know she's in great hands with Dan Ward. And Dan Ward is with me now here on HRRN. Dan, appreciate the visit.
The big concern right now is the weather here because I got the door closed. You want to listen to this?
Uh-oh.
It is raining so hard, and they got lightning, and they got a tornado warning. So they announced the track will not open before 9 for training, but sometimes it gets to be 9, and they say we're not going to open. So hopefully it gets better, but, I mean, right now we can't do anything. You know?
What's the forecast for this afternoon? Is this supposed to move out?
No. They say 2.5 inches
today, but it feels like 2.5 inches in the last half hour. I mean, it is raining so hard. I can't believe it.
Oh, my goodness. Well, hopefully everybody stays safe in the Hot Springs area.
Absolutely.
That's priority number one, my friend.
Right. Absolutely.
What did you make of Majestic Oops' performance in the American Beauty?
It's a good starting point. You know, we gave her time off, and it's easier to get her ready to run 6 furlongs than try to train her to go long first time back, and we know she can sprint. So she can finish like that, going 2 turns if she settles the first part. The only disappointing races last year were when she was, you know, kind of sent along and chasing and didn't have the finish. But if he can get her to settle going long, which he did the time he rode her, he covered her up like a turf horse, had her in behind horses, and then when he tipped her out, she just took off. So we need that kind of a patient ride the first part of the race, and then she can produce that finish.
Dan, have you heard any talk of the races potentially being canceled today because of that weather?
No. They'll do everything they can here to run, and we're just not allowing training now because of the lightning. But hopefully that lets up. It's very early, and I mean, if it was like it is right now, they wouldn't be running because it's really raining hard, and the lightning is not safe. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Well, considering that it looks like there could be a wet track for the Azeri later today, you look back to her effort June 14th of last year on a sloppy track when she won the Lady Secret at Monmouth. Boy, she ran away with it that day.
Right, and she actually. Here we were running, I believe it was the allowance race. It was sealed, and then they harrowed it. I don't know if they called it muddy, but I think that counts as one of her off-track wins also. And she can run it on anything when she's in form, and she gets the kind of trip where she's relaxed the first part and then, you know, produces that good finish.
Dan, you think, okay, well, maybe the off-track would work to our advantage when you look at nitrogen, but then you see when she ran on a sloppy track at Saratoga last June, in the Wonder Again, Grade 3, she wins by 17 lengths.
I know. I guess they decided to make her a main track horse after that. But, no, she's got really good form, and she's a very good horse. And, you know, we respect her, and we're gonna give it our best. I think a race last year that we won, the stake here, we were going against a big favorite, Who's Your Filly. We kind of trapped her down there on the inside and got the jump on her. And ideally, you know, you never know how it's going to come out, but we'd like to get the jump on her.
Tell me about the decision to go to the Azeri this year.
You know, they were originally thinking about the matron, and the goal this year is to get a graded stakes win, and the matron is not graded. And the owners also have a part ownership in Hall and Ice, who's going to run in that race. So we decided to give her a try here. She likes the track. She's in good form. And the last race proved that she could sprint, so we can go in any direction after this race. But right now she's really good, and we're giving her a shot.
Dan, how special has this mare been to you, to your career? I know you've got an esteemed background, but how cool has this been to have her alongside you?
Especially Calbred. You know, I was in California until 2020, and the way she's developed has been very special, and she's just a joy to work with, really, really easy to work with, and she's very happy right now. She loves the cold weather. She loves this track, and we're looking for a good race.
If people don't know what I'm referring to, Dan, when I talk about your background, you spent 22 years working alongside the late Hall of Famer Bobby Frankel. Then you joined the barn of Hall of Famer Jerry Hollendorfer and worked alongside Jerry. So you've learned from some of the best. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Bobby Frankel gets the due that he deserves. When we start talking about the greatest of all time, Bobby was as good as they get.
Well, the thing about him is you can't put any limitations on him. You can't say he can't work with claimers, he can't work with 2-year-olds, he can't work with grass horses, he can't work with Europeans. He can do it all. You know, we work with all types of horses. When I started with him, it was a claiming barn, and then we got some good horses, dirt horses. Horses came from Europe that were turf horses. We turned them into dirt horses. He could do everything.
What things did you take away in your time working with Bobby and working with Jerry that help you as you are now training on your own?
There's good things about both. You know, Bobby was very, very sharp, you know, knowing when horses were doing well and not doing well, and he was patient, and he gave them time and everything. And Jerry, very, very hard worker, knows how to read the book and where to run the horses, and we take good care of them. And I've worked with a lot of good horses, so, you know, Songbird and Unique Bella, and before that with Bobby, the first Juddmonte horses we got, Market Tree and Exborn and Tucson, and some nice horses. You know, you take care of all of them the same, but again, they're all different. You know, this filly here is very small, 15 hands. You can't train her like you train a big horse. So they get the same care, but the training is different from horse to horse. You try to look at your goal with each horse and the best way to get them there, because they're all different.
So how do you train Majestic Oops, Dan, to get the most out of her?
She puts a lot into the gallop, so you don't need to work her that much. We worked her 4 times. She was off from November to that race in February. She had 4 works. She had 2 3/8 and 2 halves, and just 1 work since the last race, and we let her finish, and that's been working well for the past year.
And hopefully it works well one more time in the Azeri coming up this afternoon at Oaklawn Park. It's a solid race. Again, the champion Nitrogen in there just here inside. Tell me a little bit more about the ownership involved with Majestic Oops. You said they're also involved with another big-time horse. So tell me about Majestic Oops owners.
Well, the breeder was the owner originally, Sublime Stable, and he sold 90% of her before the Molly Pitcher. And we've got a group with Medallion Racing, Agave Racing, Evan Traumer. And Agave owns part of Hall and Ice, and I believe she's going to run in the Matron. That's the plan with her. So we're going to, you know, we don't want to run against her. She's very good and very good on this track. And we're trying to get the graded win today while she's good, and she's on a track that she likes. And now's our time to take a shot. And we get weighted properly, because the races last year that she won, we found ourselves carrying top weight most of the time. We gave 7 pounds to Who's Your Filly. We gave weight to Randomize when she beat her. We gave weight to Occult when she won the Lady Secret. So we're in with 19. And last year it seemed like every race she was carrying 24. So I think now is the time for us to take our shot.
Yeah, and the man aboard, Francisco Arrieta, has had a lot of success with Majestic Oops. They just seem to click together.
Yes. If he can get her to, you know, just turn it off the first part of the race and not pull, and he can do that. He's a very good rider, and he really likes this horse.
Dan, listen, I want to wish you all the best this afternoon. I hope she runs a monster race for you. Stay dry, stay safe, and I'm sure we'll catch up again down the road.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Dan Ward, one of the real nice guys in the sport of thoroughbred racing. I always enjoy catching up with him, and here he is trying to play the giant killer role this afternoon. And you say, wait a minute, Baron, Majestic Oops is 3-1 on the morning line. It's not that big of an upset. Well, yeah, it kind of is when you're going up against the champion Nitrogen. And the way that she looked the last time we saw her on a sloppy racetrack in the Grade 3 Wonder again, winning by 17 lengths. And I know it was a 3-horse field, and she towered over those 2 rivals, but she handled the slop just fine. And she comes into this race off of that win in the Grade 3 Bayakoa, which sets her up beautifully for this run in the Azeri. And I know Mark Cassidy is just thrilled with the way that she is doing. Should be a fantastic race. Majestic Oops will have to run the race for life if she's going to do that. But you hear Dan talk about her, and he truly believes that she has a shot to be in the mix if she can stay covered up, relaxed, and make that run that we're accustomed to seeing her do, and do it going around 2 turns at a longer distance. That win last time out in the American Beauty was 6 furlongs, but as Dan said, a good starting point for Majestic Oops. Fun race. Should be a good one. By the way, post time for that Azeri. And Dan said that even though it's pouring now and there are tornado warnings in the area, he said there was no talk of canceling racing at Oaklawn. this afternoon, which is good. Hopefully that track dries out enough and it's a safe track for all. 5:44 Eastern. It's race 9 on the program. That's 4:44 local time in Hot Springs, Arkansas, post time for the Grade 2 Azeri. When I come back, I'll get you ready for hour number 2. We'll have this week's edition of Calling All 3-Year-Olds presented by Spendthrift, and we'll begin to look ahead to races like the Big Cap and the Tampa Bay Derby. That's next on the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment. Email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go. Almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. But the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fan favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net. This is HRRN, where racing comes to talk.
They're all in line. And they're off.
Spendthrift Farm presents Calling All 3-Year-Olds with Bobby Neuman.
There were 3 important Kentucky Derby qualifiers in the U.S. last weekend. On Saturday, Gulfstream Park featured the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth. Commandment, a son of Into Mischief, was sent off the slight favorite off his resounding win in the Mucho Macho Man previously. He settled mid-pack behind a solid early pace, made his move on the far turn, and used the inside path to outgame lightly raced Chief Wallaby for the win. At Aqueduct, the Grade 3 Gotham saw 8 Kentucky Derby hopefuls going a one-turn mile. Chad Brown's Iron Honor was the odds-on favorite despite only having one prior start, but he was too much for the more experienced Crown the Buckeye in winning by a length while well clear of everyone else. He's now 2 for 2 and likely headed for the Wood Memorial. Then Sunday at Oaklawn, the Grade 2 Rebel featured Bob Baffert's litmus test versus the return of Kenny McPeak's Blackout Time. But down the lane, it was Class President and Silent Tactic stealing the show. They battled all the way to the wire, with Class President narrowly holding on for the win. All 3 of last weekend's winners earned 50 Kentucky Derby points. There are 2 more 50-pointers today. At Tampa, the Grade 3 Tampa Bay Derby features the return of graded stakes winner Further Ado for trainer Brad Cox. He faces 8 others, including Canaletto, Talkin, and the Puma. And at Santa Anita, the Grade 2 San Felipe sees graded stakes winners Brandt and So Happy clash in a battle that also includes Potente and Secured Freedom. Next week, the focus shifts to Colonial Downs and the $500,000 Virginia Derby, which is also worth 50 points to the winner. I'll be back with this week's top 5 list right after this word from Spendthrift.
Cyberknife was a very talented horse from day one. Fast horse, able to carry it around 2 turns. Looks a tremendous amount like Gunrunner, same ability and talent. Holds the track record in the Haskell. He won it in impressive fashion, beating a very good group of horses. Excited about him passing on his durability, his soundness, and his talent. He could definitely be a breed-shaping stallion.
Multiple Grade 1 winner Cyberknife, standing at Spendthrift.
This week's top 5 list of Derby contenders looks like this. Number 5, Renegade, looked awesome breaking his maiden in the Sam Davis, and it looks like extra distance is his friend. Number 4, Nearly, improving Pletcher trainee, looked great in the Holy Bull. He's pointing to the Florida Derby at Gulfstream on March 28th for his next start. Number 3, Commandment, big wins in the Mucho Macho Man and Fountain of Youth. He's another Florida Derby probable. Number 2, Further Ado, followed up a monstrous maiden win with a nice score in the Kentucky Jockey Club. He runs today in the Tampa Bay Derby. And number 1 is Paladin, keeps improving and now has 60 Derby points, all but guaranteeing his spot in the Kentucky Derby. He has 1 more race scheduled before that, though, the Bluegrass at Keeneland on April 4th. That's your Calling All 3-Year-Olds segment presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm.
Now, a talented group will find out the answers to all of the questions coming up in just 8 weeks when we get to the first Saturday in May. Which of these trainers is most likely to win this year's Kentucky Derby? Is it Todd Pletcher? Is it Chad Brown? Is it Bob Baffert? Or is it Brad Cox? Those are your 4 choices on this Saturday morning. You can go to at HRRN on our X page to cast your vote. You can do that too on Facebook, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or if you don't do social media, email the show and let me know which of those 4 trainers most likely to win this year's Kentucky Derby. Right now, 48% of HRN Nation saying it's going to be Todd Pletcher, narrowly over Chad Brown with 38%. Bob Baffert just 10%, Brad Cox only 4%. Keep the votes coming, and I'll update you later in the program. Sally Ellen, our good friend at Country Life Farm up in Maryland, says Brad Cox, Chad Brown, Todd Pletcher. How about other? Steve Asmussen, Bill Mott maybe? Yeah, maybe one of those 2 is the one standing in the winner's circle. Wouldn't be all that big of a surprise, would it? But for right now, for the purposes of this question here this morning, you get those 4 choices. Let me know your thoughts. Hey, your travels, no doubt, if you're a horse racing fan, will likely take you through Kentucky at some point in the coming weeks and the coming months. And if that's the case, you want to make sure you get your reservations now at Tony's of Lexington. I've been telling you about it for years on this program. The best steak you are going to get anywhere, and I mean anywhere. It's fantastic. You want a great meal. You want to impress your friends. You want to bring them to a beautiful place, great atmosphere. Tony's of Lexington, the place to go. Give them a call right now. Make your reservations. Well, maybe wait a little bit until they actually open, but get in touch with them and make sure you make those reservations and get in at Tony's of Lexington, and you will not be disappointed. I promise you that. They're on Main Street right behind Rupp Arena. Also, too, this is the time of year to start planning your spring seeding and your fertilizers. Also, all the weed management in your pastures, and there's only one place to go. Woodford Feed in Versailles, Kentucky. I had the chance to stop in there yesterday. They do fantastic work, great people. They'll get you anything you need. They can answer all of your questions. They're incredibly knowledgeable. Bob Cleveland, the owner, my friend Greg Dotson, who works over there, just hooked me up this past week and took care of me with some things that I need for my farm. They do great work, and if you're a horse farm, it doesn't matter how big, how small, where you're located here in Central Kentucky. They'll get it out to you, whatever you need for your spring seeding and planting and fertilizer needs. If you need lime, they've got that too. Whatever it is, they will take care of you at Woodford Feed and Versailles. Make sure you tell them that the Baron told you to stop in, and they'll take great care of you. I promise you. Okay, hour 2 getting set to come your way. Next, we're going to talk about the big day at Santa Anita, Big Cap Day, San Felipe Day, Beholder Mile Day, a lot of big races coming up there. 4 graded stakes, 2 of those are grade 1s. When I come back to kick off hour 2, you're going to hear from Jeff Chapman, who does a great job handicapping the races at Santa Anita. We'll walk through all those graded stakes. Aggie Ordonez is going to join me at 9:20, and at 9:40, Brad Cox with this week's Kentucky Bred Conversation. Plenty to get into with Brad here in hour number 2. That's all straight ahead. Right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
1 hour down, 2 to go here on this week's edition of the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires, kicking off the month of March. Yeah, our first show in the month of March here, 2026, and happy to have you along for the ride. 8 weeks away from the Run for the Roses. Plenty to talk about in hour 2 and in hour 3. I mentioned Jeff Chapman set to join me from Southern California momentarily. Aggie Ordonez at 9:20, Brad Cox 9:40. 10 o'clock Eastern begins hour number 3. The TwinSpires Triple Play, and Ashley Anderson will join me to give you 3 races to watch and wager on this afternoon with TwinSpires. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. That's a cool story about a horse named Optimistic Gale that you won't want to miss. And then at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans, with Tim Wilkin. Get a chance to talk to them about some of the hottest topics in the sport today. And one thing I'm going to bring up to them is about the trainer that currently holds the strongest triple threat, if you will, of Derby contenders. It's a question that was submitted to the show by Shane in North Carolina. Is it Todd Pletcher with Nearly, Class President and Renegade, Chad Brown with Paladin, Canaletto, and Iron Honor, or Bob Baffert with Brant, Boyd, Cherokee Nation? I think it's a really interesting question, and I'll see what Dale and Tim have to say about that coming up at 10:30 Eastern Time. Plus, we'll play a round of buy or sell. It's one of our favorite games to play when we get to I Ask, They Answer. And I'm going to ask them if they're buying or selling the Gotham winner, Iron Honor. How about the Fountain of Youth winner, Commandment? He's probably a buy. I think he's a buy for most people. Runner-up, Chief Wallaby. What do you do with him? Is he a buy or a sell off of his effort? I think it was a fantastic run in his 2-turn debut. And then you have Class President, who upset the Rebel for Todd Pletcher last weekend. Are Dale and Tim buying or selling the Rebel winner? And then Silent Tactic, who, listen, he's never been worse than second in 5 career starts. And he once again was game in defeat in the Rebel. He's a nice horse from Mark Casse. Are Dale and Tim buying or selling Silent Tactic? We'll talk about that when we get to that segment, 10:30 Eastern Time here this morning. I Ask, They Answer. I know who has some answers for us here this morning on what's happening at Santa Anita. That is Jeff Chapman. Does a fantastic job. He joins me now, live from Southern California, up early on this Big Cap Day. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning. You guys got me up bright and early for this. I love it.
Yeah. I'm sure that, quite often on a day like this, Big Cap Day, it's hard to sleep the night before because you're so pumped up for the good racing. There are 4 graded stakes on the 11-race program. 2 of those are grade 1s this afternoon. Tell me what's happening at the Great Race Place.
Yeah, like you said, we've got, obviously, headed by the Big Cap, we've got 4 graded stakes races. We've got the Beer Festival today on the apron, and weather is probably maybe 74, 75 degrees, sunny. Should be a wonderful day. We love these big days out at Santa Anita, and I'm ready to rock and roll, my friend. I've actually been up for about an hour, 2 cups of coffee in. I'm ready to talk all day.
Did I hear you say Beer Festival?
Yes, Beer Festival.
I'm in.
For a couple of days.
I'm in. I love it.
Come join us. I'll give you all the beer you'd like. Let me tell you, we're ready to go.
I assume you're going to get a great crowd for that too.
Yeah, no, we should. We should have a huge crowd today, and everybody's looking forward to it. They've got some motorcycles in the infield and food trucks, so there's a lot going on at the Great Race Place today.
Yeah, and of course I mentioned the big cap, which is now down to just 5 horses. It's not the big cap field that we're used to seeing historically anyway, but it's still a Grade 1 race, still $300,000 on the line. Why don't we start with the first of the 4 graded stakes, and let's talk about the Grade 1 B. Wayne Hughes Beholder Mile. It's race number 4 because, again, a bit of a short field, 4:34 Eastern, 1:34 Pacific, the post time. Tell me a little bit more about what we're going to see in the Beholder Mile.
Yeah, like you said, kind of a small field, right, to start us off. They put this race early, so it's not in the late pick 5 or the pick 6. Obviously, I think Splendora's got them over a barrel, 4-5 on the morning line. Look, she's going to be, 1-5 maybe, and she's all class. She can sit. She can, she's won, 4 in a row, and I think she's going to make short work of this field for Bob Baffert once again taking down the Beholder Mile.
Coming up later in the program, after this segment, Aggie Ordonez is going to join me, and we're going to talk about Almond Joy, who is the California-bred 3-year-old female champion from last year. This is a tough assignment for her. Does she have any chance at pulling off the upset in the Beholder Mile?
I don't think she has a chance to pull off the upset, but I'll tell you what, she's done such a terrific job. I mean, you think with Almond Joy and also Vodka, she's got these horses running and winning often. Obviously, this is a big step up, but they've gone into open company the last couple times. They did take down the Torrey Pines at Grade 3. I think this horse hits the board at least, and I'd love to see Aggie Ordonez at least run second or third in a couple of these races. What a terrific job. One of our girls, Jessica, over in our social media did a little sit-down with her, and I talked to Aggie for a few minutes yesterday at the Women's Summit. She's just over the moon, and obviously she's done what a great job with just limited stock, and what a great story, and I just hope she keeps the momentum rolling. What a wonderful woman and a great trainer, obviously.
Jeff, as you mentioned, Splendora kind of has him over a barrel. She's 4-5 on the morning line in that Beholder Mile for Bob Baffert. She comes in on that 4-race win streak. If Splendora doesn't run her race, which horse do you point to in here and say this is the most likely upsetter?
I would probably say the 5, Bless the Broken, for Brad Cox coming in. I mean, this horse is second off the layoff. This horse ran won a stakes and then ran well in the Kentucky Oaks, obviously running in a third. And, Brad Cox does very well, 29%. Second off the layoff, 29%. Plus 31 to 60 days. I think he's got this horse going to sit just off. And if for some reason Splendora runs her C-plus game, maybe, I think Bless the Broken, or maybe, hopefully, Almond Joy runs a huge race. So I think it's the 4 on top, and maybe the 5 and the 1 filling out the exacta of the try.
Again, that's race number 4, the B. Wayne Hughes Beholder Mile. Race 8 is the second of the 4 greatest stakes, and it's a good one. It's the Grade 2 San Felipe, mile and a 16th on the main track. This one, essentially, a win and you're in for the Kentucky Derby. You get 50 Derby points if you can find a way to win it. What do you think? Who wins it?
All right, so obviously all eyes are going to be on Brant, right? Hasn't ran since October, but the horses looked very impressive in those 3 races. Ran third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I'm going to look another way. Obviously, Brant's going to be odds on in here. I'm going to go towards the 3 Secured Freedom for Tim Yachtine. This is a big, giant horse, wants no part of one turn. Obviously, won 6 furlongs. Then went to the Bob Lewis, was caught very wide. Switch leads kind of late down the lane. I still think this horse is learning a little bit green, but I do think this horse has a ton of talent. I think he wants to run all day, so the longer the better. Big, giant, beautiful-looking horse. At 8-1, I think Secured Freedom is worth a play here to upset the apple cart, and I'm hoping we get maybe 5-1. On Secured Freedom, maybe 4-1, somewhere in that range.
What do you make of the other Bob Baffert runner, Potente?
Well, look, Bob, that was impressive first time out. Got bet down, obviously, at odds on. I watched one of the work since, worked very easy. Bob's known to do things like this. I think the upside is huge on Potente, so I wouldn't be surprised one bit if Potente ran a huge race here. I mean, obviously they paid $2.4 million for Potente, so they're looking for bigger and better things down the line. And obviously 2 turns should hit this horse right between the eyes as well. So I think Potente is going to run well, and I think Potente has a big shot here. But I've been on this Secured Freedom train since I watched this horse run early, and hopefully today's the day.
Do you give any chance to So Happy from the barn of Mark Glatt? It would be an emotional victory for him. It's going to be an emotional day regardless. He's still dealing with the passing of his wife and trying to get over that grief. So Happy, undefeated, 2 for 2. What do you make of his chances?
Undefeated 2 for 2. Has looked very impressive, ran a big number in the San Vicente. Obviously, the story would be wonderful, right? So
yeah.
If this horse wins, that would be amazing for the family and everything that they've gone through lately. What concerns me just a little bit is the workout, watching it on First TV on February 22nd, which is going to eventually take me into another race. But this horse worked in company with Mi Hermano Ramon. Obviously, Mi Hermano Ramon is an older horse. I didn't like the work so much. I thought So Happy got a little bit tired. I know Mi Hermano Ramon is older, but Mi Hermano Ramon is also a turf horse. I just think maybe 2 turns isn't going to be So Happy's friend. I might be wrong, but I'm a play against here, even though obviously, like we talked about earlier, it would be a wonderful story, and I'll be the first person to, be in the winner's circle and congratulating them if So Happy runs a big race and wins this. But I'm just not sure that horse was all out in that work. I know it says 111 and they got the bullet, but I always watch it how they do it rather than the time. And I'm a little bit against that work, so I'm kind of taking a pass today on So Happy.
Walking through the greatest stakes races at Santa Anita this afternoon with Jeff Chapman. He's up early on the West Coast to be with us. We certainly appreciate that. Jeff, the next race, the Grade 2 Frank E. Kilroe Mile, 1 mile on the turf, and this is where we do find Mi Hermano Ramon. Tell me a little bit more about this race.
Okay, obviously, if you look at this race, it's absolutely loaded with speed. I mean, El Potente wants to go. El Potente maybe can sit a little bit, but Cabo Spirit likes to lead. Mi Vago is just all speed. Final Boss likes to go to the front. It's just amazing how much speed we found in this race. So if you look through that, it looks like it's going to set up for Mi Hermano Ramon, maybe Almendaris, or Gas Me Up. Possibly even Astronomer, who hasn't won since 2023, so we're not going to look there. So I'm going to look at Mi Hermano Ramon. I did like the work. I know this horse hasn't ran since June of 2025. Mark Glatt, there's another good story, can get them ready. I love the work, as we just talked about on February 22nd. I see this horse sitting 5th or 6th, and I think this sets up perfectly for a closer. So I would say my 2A horses in here would be Mi Hermano Ramon and Gas Me Up, who's also going to be running late. And I also think it sets up for Almendaris coming from off the pace. El Potente is going to get bet. If El Potente, who likes to win races, can sit just a little bit, maybe, he can get the trip from all the speed. But he likes to go. So it just looks to me like it sets up for one of those 3 closers. So I'm looking at 1, 2, 4. That would be Mi Hermano Ramon, Gas Me Up, and Almendaris from off the pace in a race that just looks like it's loaded with speed, and they are going to be rolling early.
Yeah, it does. There is a lot of speed in here. El Potente translates to the powerful, and very well could prove to be too powerful for this group, but he's going to have to overcome some other company on the front end if he's going to get it done here this afternoon. All right, Jeff, one more to talk about. It is the big cap, the Santa Anita Handicap, 1.25 miles on the main track. Race number 10, 7:43 Eastern, 4:43 local time at Santa Anita in Southern California. Down to 5 horses. Who walks away with the top prize?
Yeah, unfortunately, with Skippy Longstocking not making it and then Westwood getting scratched, I mean, we're down to 5 horses. This is another race that's, it's not, let's say, one of the best renditions of the Santa Anita Handicap. I think, obviously, Just a Touch is the class of the field, but there are question marks here. I mean, can Just a Touch go this far? Just a Touch has actually never won a graded stakes. That being said, like we just talked about, I think this is a weak field, and I think Just a Touch, just on class alone, is just better than these horses. Would it surprise me if somebody else won? No, but I don't know who to go to next. So I think that maybe by default, Just a Touch, and maybe obviously a very talented horse, ran second to Sierra Leone in the Bluegrass. I think Just a Touch is just too good in here.
Yeah, Just a Touch will likely be the favorite in this spot now with those defections, and he has run some really solid races, and maybe today is the day that he adds a grade 1 to his resume. Jeff, what else is going on at the Great Race Place today? Do you have another race that you like or other wagers that you're looking forward to this afternoon?
Now that you said that, I'm going to give you one. I obviously looked through the card earlier, right? And I'm going to give you one horse at a price that I think is very interesting in a maiden race. We're going to go back to race 6, which is a maiden special weight going 6.5. I think there's some talented horses in here. Bob Baffert has the morning line favorite Memory, the 9 horse, at 2-1, and is very, very talented. Worked against Patente the last time, who we just spoke about. But I'm going to lean towards the rail horse. Now, I know there's been some gaps in the works, but this first-timer for Bob Baffert at 10-1 on the morning line. Don't love the rail draw, but maybe that's why we're going to get the good price. This horse had a huge workout a couple back with Stronghold and Ironman Cal. I think there's a lot of talent here, and at 10-1, hopefully breaks well, takes some gate to wire, and we get a nice payoff here with a first-timer. Everybody always talks about the bigger price of the 2 Bafferts, but I just think the talent is here, and at 10-1 is worth a play.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, a little value there on this Saturday morning. Any special wagers tied to Big Cap Day?
Obviously, the big wagers we always like out here now are, the early pick 5 is always, popular, the late pick 5, of course. But with the all-turf pick 3, that's the $3 wager. You get the 15% low takeout, and also the late pick 3 as well, which is a $3 bet. And those things, they've gone over very well here with the 15% takeout, and the payoffs have been terrific. So I always look to play. I'm kind of leaning in towards the late turf pick 3. And hopefully we could have a big score on a big day at the Great Race Place. And, hopefully I've been up. I said I've had a couple cups of coffee. I didn't realize I got up at 4:45. Hopefully I haven't been babbling too long. But now you got me up and pumped and ready to roll for the rest of the day.
Jeff, another great appearance. Appreciate you taking the time and getting up with us here this morning. Enjoy every race that is going to be part of a great Big Cap Day this afternoon. Good luck at the windows, my friend. We'll talk again soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the time. Have a great day.
All right, you got it. Yeah, Jeff Chapman walking through all of those big races coming up. And Aggie Ordonez set to join me next. We're going to talk about her California-bred champion filly, Almond Joy, who goes in the Beholder Mile. We're going to talk about Vodka, who tries to pull off a bit of an upset in the Big Cap later today. We'll do that in the next segment. But I want to pass this along. If you missed it at the top of the show, our Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question for this morning, I don't know if this is as hard as some of the ones we've given out, but you still have to think a little bit. Who is the oldest living Kentucky Derby winning horse, and how old is he? That is the part that makes it a little tricky. Keep that one in mind. Get your mojo working. The answer will be revealed at the end of the show, right around 10:55 Eastern this morning. Aggie Ordonez next. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
The road to the Kentucky Derby once again passes through Colonial Downs. On Saturday, March 14th, the $500,000 Virginia Derby will be run as a Road to the Kentucky Derby points race. Last year's winner, American Promise, went on to run in the Derby and Preakness. Join us for a history-making day that also includes the $250,000 Virginia Oaks, a Kentucky Oaks points race. Colonial Downs Spring Meet runs March 12th through March 14th. Post time 12:30 Eastern Thursday and Friday, noon Eastern on Virginia Derby Day, Saturday, March 14th.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And here comes the threat. Omen Joy has circled up on the far outside and is closing in as they come into the final furlong. It is still, so there she was trying to pull off the upset here. Omen Joy comes to take her on the outside. These two down to the wire together, and Omen Joy and Kent DeSormo win the Torrey Pines.
Vodka looking for a seam, finding it now, one from the outside. Extreme outside is Kerry Gold, and in behind horses, Cardiff Crack. Vodka comes to take the lead with a 16th to go and finishes full run. Vodka, and Kent DeSormo winning the nightcap.
Larry Colmus, Frank Miramati doing the honors. Enjoy Vodka, both impressive in victories recently for trainer Aggie Ordonez, who joins me now live from Southern California. They're both in action this afternoon and both in with a realistic chance in their races today. Aggie, appreciate the visit.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Mike. It's such a wave of energy going through Santa Anita right now with the big races and some good horses coming in, and the biggest day of my career for sure. 2 grade ones in one day. What unbelievable.
I have to tell you, my wife was so excited when I asked you to join me on the program because she likes nothing better than kicking back with a vodka and an almond joy.
I think it's a perfect day. I'd love to hang out with your wife. I think she got it right on.
Yeah, she loves the names. And listen, Almond Joy is more than just a really clever name. Boy, she can really run.
This is a good filly, and it took her a few races to really put it together. She's a little bit of an airhead. It took her a while to learn, breaking from the gate. But once she got her game on, what a ride we had with her in 2025 with 5 in a row, and the Torrey Pines was the highlight, and been represented well at Keeneland. We were proud of her. She ran a big race, little traffic trouble. I mean, minuscule, but with all the good luck that we've had with her, I cannot complain.
Aggie, we haven't seen Almond Joy since October at Keeneland, October 18th, when she was 4th in the Grade 2 Raven Run. What have the past few months been like for her?
Well, we turned her out for 6 6 weeks it was, little more, 6 or 7 weeks, and for no other reason than just to give her a mental break and to put a little more weight on her. She started after a year, a great campaign. She was growing and adding weight every single race, but towards the end of the year, after the Ravens run, I said, nah, she's starting to go the other direction. I want a good 4-year-old, so let's let her recoup. And we sent her to Kingfisher Farms for 6 weeks, and she came back bigger and stronger. We put about 100 pounds on her, gave her a month of jogging, and then cranked her up and ready to roll.
Well, you didn't mess around either. You bring her right back in a Grade 1 against the likes of Splendora and some other talented fillies. What led you to bring her back in this spot? Was this always the goal?
Mike, don't get me wrong. If there was a mile Calbred dirt race, she'd be in it. But I do prefer her on the dirt. I do want to focus on routing her. And this is the race that's available in our time frame and when the horse is ready. That being said, I'm not afraid to try to take big swings. That's in my nature. I love swinging big once in a while. And if she gets a piece of this, I'd be thrilled. But winning it, I don't think it's out of the question. This is a good filly. She's going to be a better filly as a 4-year-old. And 4-year-old fillies, they tend to blossom. There's something about that year when they make that transition. I compare it to from they're not high school girls anymore. They're now college athletes and maybe a little bit better. And their bodies change and their mind matures. And it's a great year to be a 4-year-old.
Aggie, take me back to August 30th of last year at Del Mar when Almond Joy wins the Grade 3 Torrey Pine, your first Greatest Stakes victory as a trainer. What was that day like?
Well, the funny with Almond Joy, every race we're like, boy, I know she's good, but can she break her maiden on the dirt? Yes, she can. Now, I know she's good. Can she win a stake? Yes, she can. Well, can she get the mile distance? Yes, she can. Every race we went up there with a few questions. And then, of course, at the end of it, well, do you think she's good enough to beat Bob Baffert? Can she beat Open Company? Can she win a graded stake? So we never walked over there feeling like we had this. She was having to prove herself every step of the way, and she kept rising to the occasion. So we began to expect, for her to rise to the occasion. And did she ever? She put on such a performance that day with another perfect ride by Kent DeSorma, who's been flawless and been such a pleasure to have on the team. Mind blowing. Just a magnificent day. Her ownership group, all of us, including myself, were all 50 and up, and we were standing in a group in the tunnel at Del Mar, and we're watching the race, and you would have thought it was like retro back to Jane Fonda, that we were a bunch of teenagers in like an aerobics class. We were jumping in the air. No one would ever say that these were some in the later years of our lives. That's the energy that Almond Joy has given us.
Hey, age is just a number, Aggie. It's only a number.
Yes, it's all in the mind.
Tell me about the owners of Almond Joy. The champion filly, California-bred, let me say this, 3-year-old filly of last year.
Just went to the CTTB dinner on Monday at Le Meridien here across the street from Santa Anita. What a great night. What a celebration of Calbreds, and so proud to be honored for 3-year-old filly of the year. She was nominated for Horse of the Year. We were in and running for that. But maybe this year we can get the whole big shebang. The owners were there and enjoying every moment of it. Connie and Jerry Baker bred this mare and have become my dearest friends. We feel like family. They are two of the finest people that I've met. A marriage that a billboard for what marriage should look like. They support each other, love each other. They're both great lovers of the game, both great handicappers. That's the only time there might be some squabbling. They argue over their picks. They're all in as far as horse racing goes, and what a pleasure to have them.
You mentioned Kent DeSormo. When you get a guy like this, the Hall of Famer who has won so many big races over the course of his career, when you walk into the paddock, I assume you don't have to tell him very much, right?
Well, we sometimes talk about the Lakers in the paddock. Sometimes, I mean, there's not much to tell Kent. I mean, I couldn't be more confident when I leg him up. Honestly, I feel like I'm sending out Michael Jordan in a pickup game in the neighborhood when I've got Kent on my team.
Well, you'll get to leg him up twice today, not just on Almond Joy in the B. Wayne Hughes Beholder Mile, but then you come back in the big cap with Vodka, and Kent will be aboard once again. Tell me about Vodka.
Vodka. What a pleasure it is to have him. I've had faith in this horse from the day he got off the van, that this was a good horse. He had some issues earlier in his career, and we just pressed reset on him. We kicked him out for 5 months and brought him back in, and he came in a different horse. We gelded him. That was one of his issues. He was wanting to breed everything. So with that off of his mind and him focusing more on his business, he's been a hell of a racehorse. He's kind of a tough guy, and you have to kind of let him call the shots. Kent has really, he rides them both so differently. They're such different personalities for being half siblings, and he treats them differently. He's obviously wonderful with Joy and treats her like the lady she is, and coaxes her and comforts her. And with Vodka, he's got to be careful not to tell him too much what to do. Let him do his thing. When he wants to go, he kind of goes. And you saw that on what I thought was his best race, that was at Del Mar on Breeders' Cup weekend, in that it was just a 1X allowance race, open, still a very tough race. But you know, it seems almost like an early move, but Ken said, man, he grabbed it and decided to go. The guy next to me was chirping to his horse. Vodka heard it and decided to go. I said, let's go. It's your call. You do it. This horse runs for the joy of it. You can see it in his face. He's just a happy, joyful, free-running horse.
The last time he went turf to dirt was in that race at Del Mar that you just mentioned, maybe the best race of his career, when he won by 2 3/4 lengths coming out of that turf race, moving to the dirt. He comes from another turf race on January 17th where he wins the Turf Classic and now goes back to the dirt for the big cap. Was that by design, Aggie?
Absolutely, yeah. I love using the turf. I think the turf perhaps a little bit softer on them, a little more gentler on horses, and they use different muscles. And I almost use it as a freshener. And when they are dirt horses, if they'll go both ways, if they're comfortable enough to go both ways, use it as a prep for their big effort on the dirt. So I think it set him up just right for our big swing today in the big cap.
You don't have to deal with Skippy Longstocking. You don't have to deal with Westwood. So you have 4 rivals to contend with. Size up the competition.
You know, do you ever hear the term, I'd rather be lucky than good? I almost I almost feel that going on with Vodka's race with those 2 defections. I really didn't want to take on Skippy Longstocking. I hadn't anticipated him being in the race, so that was a big turn of luck for me, for him to be out. After that, I don't really worry about the competition. I worry about my own horse, and Kent will manage how to ride him in the race. I do see him forwardly placed, but I'll leave the handicappers to worry about the rest of the horses.
Charlie Whittingham, Gary Jones, Richard Mandela, Bob Baffert, Bobby Frankel, just some of the names of the trainers who have won the big cap in recent years in history. Aggie Ordonez, maybe the next.
Let's say it together. Aggie Ordonez. I think it has a great ring to it. I love it.
Could you ever imagine the chance to see your name alongside those greats?
It's not something I have imagined. I spent years at what most would consider a minor league track. Started out at the big leagues at Hialeah and Belmont with my dad. That's where he rode and trained for a lifetime, and that's where I grew up. And then kind of wandered across the country, landed at Golden Gate Fields, and spent 20 years with some lower level horses. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I learned a lot from them. I pride myself on the TLC I give my horses, and those guys need it more than anything. The lower level horses that are just plugging along and in the 4,000 non-3 in the life type races at Golden Gate. But when I made this move to Santa Anita, it felt like coming home to just another first class track, and why not? Why not take aim at some big races and winning the Santa Anita Handicap? What a dream! What a dream!
Aggie, I'm so glad you bring up the TLC that you give to each of your horses. That is an integral part of your program, and it has been for a very long time. What does that look like? Tell me about the care that you give to them.
Well, my day starts with checking them, just almost like waking up your kids. Like, is everything okay? You look at their eyes and their body, and of course they eat their dinner, and the critical part of, are their legs great and sound and cold, in good shape? And I start off with believe it or not, a yoga class. I stretch my horses. I love stretching my horses. I entice them with a carrot. I have them bend into the left, bend into the right, and then tucking their head between their knees. And it's really a beautiful thing to watch them, how much they get from that, how they anticipate it. And sometimes I'll step back in the stall and watch them, and they'll continue on stretching. They'll do a down dog and then arch their backs and then let a hind leg stretch out behind them. I mean, it begins to encourage them when they realize just this feels so good, and they carry it on. I think it's a great way to start the day. I wish I did it for myself more often. I never felt better than when I was doing yoga. But for right now, I'm focusing on the horses and their yoga. And that's just a little, one of the few things. But I love the personal connection with the horses. That's what makes me tick. I mean, I love just pushing my face into their muzzle and the smell of a horse, and I love them with all my heart. And I could never be, there's different type of trainers. There's some guys out there, very successful guys that are almost more like a CEO than trainer. I mean, we're all trainers in different respects, but I almost cringe at the word trainer. I'm a caregiver. I listen to my horses and try and interpret what's going to bring them to their best, and work with them instead of telling them. I mean, I've learned more from horses than I think I've trained into a horse. Just let them be their best and keep them healthy and happy. That's how I go about it.
Aggie, here's to hoping that you get to snuggle in the winner's circle with Almond Joy and Vodka later today. At least one, but let's go snuggle with both of them.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Mike.
All right. Really appreciate it. Good luck later today.
My pleasure. Have a great one.
Yeah, you too. So much fun, huh? How much fun. You want to be pumped up about the sport of thoroughbred racing? And about, you want to know what it means to so many people in our game to be around these horses every single day? Listen to Aggie Ordonez. So positive. So beautiful the way that she describes how much she loves just the smell of a horse, just snuggling up to the horse. And then the care that she gives to each of her horses. How about that? She puts them through a yoga class to kick off their day. So unique. I say it all the time. For 99% of the people involved in racing, whether it's in the breeding sheds, working on the farms every morning, dealing with the foals, working at the sales, working at the racetracks, for 99% of the people, the love of the horse is what absolutely gets them out of bed every morning. And that's certainly the case for Aggie Ordonez. What a fun interview there. Best of luck to her with Almond Joy Vodka coming up this afternoon in Southern California. Well, Brad Cox is going to be hoping it's not a good day for Aggie Ordonez because he's going up against her in both of those races. I'll talk to him next with the Kentucky Bred Conversation. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Coolmore Stallion Corniche, a $1.5 million OBS April sale topper by Quality Road and a 2-time Grade 1 winner.
But it's Corniche. He's just too good. Corniche wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Voted champion 2-year-old male following his win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, it's no surprise his 72 yearlings sold for an average of over $170,000, with a top-price colt of $725,000 and a top-price filly of $525,000. Corniche standing for only $15,000 at Coolmore's Ashford Stud.
Fans, a tremendous day of racing excitement and entertainment await you here at the Great Race Place, Santa Anita Park. Look at the racing lineup. We have 11 big races and 4 big stakes races, highlighted by the Big Cap, presented by Yamava Casino and Resort at San Manuel. My favorite race today is the San Felipe, pitting So Happy against Brand. That race is going to be a humdinger. And to attack those races, we have a tremendous wagering menu that includes the retail-only First Coast to Coast Pick 5, a $5 late daily double, a $3 all turf pick 3, and a $3 late pick 3, all with a low 15% take on. Don't forget the very popular $2 traditional pick 6. To enhance the big day, we have a big cab hat giveaway for our first reward members, a family fun zone in the infield all weekend long, in the ever popular Fiesta Santa Anita with great food, music, and my favorite Lucha Libre. For all the details, go to santanita.com today. Come out to the Great Race Place.
Would you know what to do in a poison emergency? Would you know whom to call? Well, the answer is Poison Help. 1-800-222-1222. Poison Help is a 24/7 government hotline staffed by poison experts. It's free to call and available in over 100 languages. Every second counts in a poison emergency. Don't waste it wondering who to call. Save Poison Help in your phone today. 1-800-222-1222.
Hey, this is Bobby Neuman. Join me every Friday afternoon to dive deep into handicapping the races. We'll cover the live action from some of the biggest tracks in the country, talk to some of the major players in the game, and hopefully make a little money along the way. You can also call the show to share your opinions, ask a question or two, or maybe just vent about some bad beats. It's Betting with Bobby every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern on Sirius 162, XM 207, online channel 999, or streaming live at horseracingradio.net.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And Ushpa Tesoro from back in the field tries to make impressions as they swing in the Dubai World Cup. And it is Mixto who goes up to challenge Walk of Stars. Forever Young has a mighty task ahead of him. Wilson Tesoro goes with him in 3rd and 4th. Hit Show running on from the back, but it's Mixto who hits the lead here with 150 metres left to go. Mixto for Doug O'Neill and Frankie Dettori. Hit Show out when it's all too late. Look at Hit Show right over the top. Hit Show for Florence Giroux and Brad Cox in the Dubai World Cup. Wins in spectacular fashion. Mixto 2nd over. 3rd Forever Young. 4th Il Miracolo from Walk of Stars.
A brilliant victory for Hit Show in the Dubai World Cup last year. His connections now monitoring the situation in the Middle East, and they'll make a decision on whether or not to go back to defend his title shortly. Brad Cox is going to join me here momentarily to tell you more about that and about the other horses that he has running this weekend. It is our Kentucky Bred Conversation, presented by the Kentucky Thoroughbred Development and Breeders Incentive Funds, which paid a record $20 million in awards to breeders participating in the KBIF program last year for racing in 2025. Brad, a lot of things on your plate right now, my friend, not just this weekend, but looking ahead to the Dubai World Cup. What can you tell us about the situation with Hit Show?
Well, he's doing well. We're happy with where we are from a training standpoint. It's just about, just getting the personnel over there, obviously the horse as well. So, we'll find out more over the next few days and ultimately have to make a decision, I think, Saturday morning on, whether we're going or not. We're planning on going, but, just some questions I'm not able to quite answer right now on who's going and all that stuff.
What are you hearing from the folks at the Dubai Racing Club about the situation there now?
Look, I think they're trying to, hoping things will be resolved by the middle of, or, hopefully, I don't know if I'd use the word resolved, but, quieting down and, they're planning on having the event. Unfortunately for us, we have to, go over, a couple weeks out. So we'll see, like I said, how everything plays out over the next few days on, shipping Saturday, I should say.
Yeah, and I can imagine, Brad, it's a difficult decision for you on a lot of levels, but certainly because of the fact that you do have to send your help over there early.
Yeah. So, once again, still kind of working on that. And, I think we're going to be fine. I think Mersan Horse Transportation is working well with us and trying to get all that organized. And, I think it'll happen. I do believe just trying to get everything, all the paperwork, passports and all that in line. And it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
What are you seeing from Hit Show in his training that lets you believe he's ready to defend his title?
Well, more of the same. He's always a good filling horse, trains forward, good mover. I loved his race last time out there at the fairgrounds. I thought it was a perfect prep. And I think it has him set up for a big effort. So, he's a really unique horse that he's, seems to be getting better as he gets older. And he's just a sturdy dude that brings it every time, very consistent of the mornings and the afternoons. So, once again, love the way he's doing training.
Brad, I throw out a poll question on the show every Saturday morning, and my poll question today is, which of these four trainers most likely to win this year's Kentucky Derby? Pletcher, Brown, Baffert, or Cox? And so far, Todd Pletcher's leading with 40%, 20% for Brad Cox. I guess not a lot of believers in Commandment last weekend. I certainly am.
Yeah, I am too. I really, really am. I thought his race was very impressive, and you can dissect a race any way you want, the trip they get. But the one thing about this horse is I think he can set any trip and respond when asked, and I think that's big. I think he showed that in his first four runs. He doesn't have to be outside. He can be inside. He can be outside. He can be between horses. He can split horses. He can come up the fence. So I think that's worth a lot when you're running against 19 other horses, and obviously we need another run before that with probably the Florida Derby. But I'm very, very happy with what we saw from him last weekend, and I was obviously a fan before, but I'm a big fan now, and I thought his race was very, very good.
The big question that all of these 3-year-olds will have to answer in 8 weeks when they get to Louisville is the 1.25 mile distance. What gives you the confidence that Commandment will handle that assignment?
That he's able to maneuver in and out of spots, that he can, respond when asked from a rider. He can, just relax when need be, go between horses, doesn't have to have a certain trip. I thought he broke really well last time, going the 2 turns. You never really know when they go 2 turns, especially off 3 one-turn races, how they're going to respond, if they're going to break and, be a little forward going to the first turn, if they're going to even handle it. I thought it was a perfect race from him in regards to what we need to see to act, with moving forward to getting that 1.25 miles. So, next step's 1 1/8 miles. And, I think he showed everything he needed to show from a mental standpoint and to have the confidence that he could handle the 1.25 miles.
I know that you want to win the Tampa Bay Derby this afternoon, but what do you want to see from further ado in this effort returning as a 3-year-old?
Break sharp, get involved, and stay on. I went back and watched his race last night at Keeneland, and I mean, obviously it was a 20-length win, but I just want to go back and watch it really close again, and just the way he stayed on, the way he galloped it out, he did it with ease. I obviously don't expect to see anything like that, but I do expect him to run very well. His works have been very, very good at pace, and he's fresh. He's running off a layoff. Hopefully he'll relax. Hopefully he breaks well, and then he'll relax and get into a good rhythm, and he can finish up well.
Brad, that's interesting that you would go back and watch that race again. What specifically were you looking for when you went back and watched that Keeneland victory?
Probably just how quick or how sharp he broke. Just obviously it was his first time going 2 turns, and he broke well, and looking for him to do that today. On paper, to me, it looks like a lot of horses that are going to try to set the same trip and break and be forward. Obviously these are horses with not a lot of runs under their belt, so they're still trying to figure out who they are and how good they are. But I think that'd be the ideal trip based off some of the early pace figs that these horses have shown to start their careers.
What are you seeing from him over the past 3 months? Have you seen development physically, mentally, or is he about where he was?
He's always been really good, so it's hard to say, he's a tremendous amount better than he was. I mean, I've said it several times. There's a reason why we took him to Saratoga to start his career. He's a really good workhorse. He showed that at Keeneland. We moved him over to Churchill. Saratoga was starting. We thought we'd send him up. And he ran okay. First time was a little green, and then second time I thought he improved. But no, he's obviously gotten better. He got better as a 2-year-old, and I feel like physically he's really moved forward. In December, I thought his coat was just a little flat, and maybe he needed to put on a little weight, and he certainly has over the last couple months. And he looks fantastic, and like I said, his works have been phenomenal.
Brad, I want to ask you about the Big Cap and the Beholder Mile at Santa Anita, but before we do, you got 2 more horses running at Tampa Bay Downs in stakes races today with Disco Time, Destino d'Oro. Tell me about those 2.
Disco, look, we're trying to start a new win streak with him. Obviously, one of the choices there in the Pegasus, things just didn't go quite as well as we were hoping. And not really a whole lot of excuse other than maybe just went a little quick early, but, he's trained well since. I thought this would be a good start or a good race to get him started again and let him determine, exactly what he wants to do, how far he wants to go. Obviously, we have, I think, 6 total runs underneath of him. Still trying to figure out maybe what he's best at. Obviously, I think his best race to date was the Dwyer. It was around 1 turn. So, we're still trying to figure out what he's best at, but I think this is a good race to rebound, and hopefully he runs a big race.
Just a touch now, the favorite, likely favorite anyway, in the Big Cap after some defections. He'll face 4 other rivals, and then you have Bless the Broken and the Beholder Mile. Let's start with Just a Touch. What are you seeing from him that leads you to believe he gets a grade 1 on his resume today?
Well, I mean, I think he needs a break and go forward. Man, he's an awful talented horse, and I think to think that he's not won a graded stake at this point. I mean, he's always been, a really good workhorse, a talented horse. Obviously, we threw a lot at him to start his career with Breaking His Maiden, straight off to the Gotham in a muddy track, and then the Bluegrass. He ran respectable in all of his races. Obviously, the Derby didn't go quite as well as we thought, but, he got his career off to a good start, and then we kind of hit a wall there with him. In the Derby, the Iowa Derby didn't go quite as well. He rebounded, came back last year, and I mean, I think he's a grade 1 talent. It's all about, having things go his way, and I think he's in a great spot today. There's a reason why he's 3-2 morning line, and but he has to go out there and he has to get it done. I feel like our team's done a good job getting him to this point. Basically, it's up to him. He needs to pull through today.
How about Bless the Broken?
Big ask. Cross country, obviously facing a very good filly in Splendora, but training well. I thought her race off the layoff was really, really good. She's had plenty of time to recover from that. she's really trained well leading up. But like I said, I think some things would have to really fall into place for her to get the win. But I think, she's very, very capable, getting a placing, and she's doing well.
Brad, this is our Kentucky bred conversation, this particular segment here on Saturday morning. You yourself, Kentucky bred, growing up right next to Churchill Downs. We've talked about this in past segments here, but just what is it about that program in Kentucky now that just makes everybody want to be there?
Well, I think it's the money. I mean, we're $100,000, $100,000+ maiden races, and allowance races, and a great stakes schedule. So look, it's an unbelievable program. It offers a lot of races throughout the year. Obviously, dirt, turf. We have the synthetic in the wintertime there at Turfway. So it's good year-round racing. Good purses, obviously, and it's an amazing program, and it's very healthy racing, good field size, good competitive racing, and for 4 and 5 day a week racing between Keeneland, Churchill, and Kentucky Downs doesn't race a lot, but it's a very competitive meet, and we have Turfway as well, so in Ellis Park. So it's good, healthy racing, and just very fortunate to be a part of it.
Yeah, and those rewards for Kentucky breds winning races all over the country, all over the world, doesn't hurt either.
Right.
Yep, fantastic stuff. Brad, busy day for you. I'll let you go, my friend. Always appreciate the time. Good luck with all those races. And listen, safe trip over to Dubai with Hit Show and the team.
Thanks, Mike. Talk to you soon.
You got it. Brad Cox here with this week's Kentucky Bred Conversation. A record $20 million in awards was paid to breeders participating in the Kentucky Thoroughbred Breeders Incentive Fund program last year for racing in 2025. KBIF has provided more than $250 million to breeders of Kentucky breds winning eligible races worldwide since the program was implemented in 2005. Kentucky remains one of the leading racing jurisdictions, paying out $239 million in combined association purse and Kentucky Thoroughbred development funds for an average of $112,648 per race. Think about that. And an average field size of 8.8 in 2025. Make sure your horse is KTDF and KBIF eligible to secure your share of lucrative awards worldwide. For more information on thoroughbred racing and breeding in Kentucky, visit KentuckyBreds.com or register KBIF.com. I'm back to take a look at a historical date in racing history or two when I return. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Think back to the last time you were in nature. What comes to mind? Hiking through a lush forest, floating on a lazy river, or perhaps watching a vibrant sunset on a beach full of glistening plastic bottles and food wrappers. Unfortunately, this isn't a joke. Here in the U.S., we generate the most plastic waste in the world, with 70% of it ending up in landfills. And by the time you're done listening to this ad, more than a dump truck's worth of plastic will have made it into the ocean. Plastic has become a useful part of our everyday lives, but it's polluting the air, water, and soil that all life needs to survive. This is a human problem that can be solved with human action, but it's going to take all of us, from individuals to businesses to governments and everyone in between. Help create a cleaner future for both people and nature. Visit WWF.Earth/plastics.
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. If you're struggling with mental health, you should know that there are resources out there that can help. And it's okay to talk about it if you need to. One place to get started with information is loveyourmindtoday.org. Loveyourmindtoday.org offers a range of guides, instructions, and insights for dealing with difficult situations or getting through a tough time. If you're struggling with mental health, get the help you need, because most people out here really care. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Check out the all-new HorseRacingRadio.net. All the same great horse racing radio content in a new, easy-to-use design. Listen to all of our shows streaming live or access the replays anytime. See our schedule, sign up for our newsletter, download our latest podcasts, and so much more. It's all on our website at HorseRacingRadio.net. That's HorseRacingRadio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Getting ready for hour number 3. Not a lot of time here as we transition for historical dates in racing history, but I will look back on yesterday, March 6, 1965, the day that jockey Early Fires rode the first winner of his brilliant career, and tomorrow, March 8, 1985, the day that Chris McCarron rode his 4,000th career winner, Hockley, in the 5th race at Santa Anita. Chris ended up with 7,141 career wins, 11th all-time. 2 hours down, 1 to go here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Stay with me. Hour 3 straight ahead, right after this 10-second pause. For station identification, this is the Horse Racing Radio Network.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Game on, dude, leads them. Game on, dude, gonna write his way into the history books. Game on, dude, and Mike Smith have won the Santa Anita Handicap.
They approach the 8th pole in the Santa Isabel, and Midnight Bisou, let go by Smith, shoots clear from 13 squared. Midnight Bisou, after breaking her maiden in a graded stakes, now conquers 2 turns in the Santa Isabel. She wins by a little over 2 lengths.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
100 yards to come. Street Sense, any given Saturday. Down to the wire. It's Street Sense, any given Saturday. Is right back at him. These two heads of pie. Too close to call. Might have been Street Sense in a fabulous race. Running time on the board, 1 minute, 43 seconds flat for the Tampa Bay Derby.
Midnight Hawk battling in second, but it's all California Chrome as they come for home. They would need to sprout wings to get to California Chrome. Absolutely romping in under Victor Espinosa. San Felipe was a walkover for California Chrome.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Welcome back. Hour 3 of the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch. Happy to have you with me on this first Saturday in the month of March as we edge ever closer to that first Saturday in May. I know many parts of the country still a little on the cool side, and that thought, though, should warm you up on this Saturday morning, and I hope it has. I hope the conversation over the first 2 hours of the show has helped to warm you up a little, too, because we spent a lot of time talking about Big Cat Day, San Felipe Day out in California at Santa Anita. We spent time talking about the Tampa Bay Derby and, of course, the Azeri Stakes down at Oaklawn. If you missed any portion of the first 2 hours of the program, head back to the website, HorseRacingRadio.net. That's where you can listen to this show and all of our podcasts for every show. They're all there for you on our website and on your favorite podcast platform. So wherever you get your podcast, type in Horse Racing Radio Network and follow along with us all year long, especially this time of year as we lead up to the Kentucky Derby, because there is so much to talk about in thoroughbred racing. And if you can't tell, I'm pretty fired up about it here this morning. Lots to get to in Hour 3. It begins with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Ashley Anderson will be here momentarily to give you 3 races to watch and wager on with TwinSpires on this Saturday afternoon. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History coming up at 10:20. Cool story about a horse by the name of Optimistic Gale. So stay tuned for that. And then at 10:30, we wrap up the show. Final segment, as we do every single week. It is with I Ask, They Answer. Dale Roman's Tim Wilkin. They'll be here to tackle some of the spot's hottest topics. And we'll play a round of Like It, Love It, or Hate It. We'll also play a game of Buy or Sell with them coming up to talk about some of the top Derby prospects on the road to Louisville. But without further ado, we say hello to Ashley Anderson in this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Hello, Ashley.
Good morning.
Happy Big Cap Day, Tampa Bay Derby Day, Azeri Day. Lots to be excited about.
A whole lot to be excited about. Yes, it's a huge Saturday.
Yeah, it's massive, coast to coast, and really looking forward to it. You know, we've seen some really good performances along the road to the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks for that matter, too. And you have to expect we may see another one or two this afternoon that give us another horse to get excited about.
Absolutely. In the Tampa Bay Derby especially, we have Further Ado, who's going to be making his 3-year-old debut, and he won the Kentucky Jockey Club. Coming off, he had a 20-length maiden win and then came back to Churchill Downs and won the Kentucky Jockey Club. So he's coming in with a high profile, but we also have a Chad Brown runner in there who has a lot of hype around him. So I think the Tampa Bay Derby could potentially have a huge Kentucky Derby contender emerge from that race today. And then the San Felipe Bay, too. We have some Baffert runners in there, but trying to play against them, actually, I like to do that just for fun.
Well, you got to look for value. You're not going to get value most of the time betting on Bob Baffert in graded stakes in Southern California. So you have to look for value. That's what we're going to do in our 3 races coming up here this morning. You've selected races 10, 11, and 12 from Tampa Bay Downs, and for good reason. TwinSpires has some special offers.
Yeah, we have the Road to the Kentucky Derby $10 bet back offer, so you get a bonus bet up to $10 back on your first win wager if your horse finishes second or third in select races at tracks along the Road to the Kentucky Derby. Today at Tampa Bay Downs, it's going to be races 10, 11, and 12, so I'm covering all 3 of those. And then at Santa Anita, we have races 8 and 10, so the San Felipe and the Santa Anita handicap.
All right, well, let's jump in with the ladies. The Florida Oaks, Grade 3, purse of $200,000. It is race number 10 this afternoon at Tampa Bay Downs. Mile and a 16th on the turf course. Post time 5 o'clock Eastern. Big field, too. How'd you see this one?
I ended up going with number 5, Dandana, who last out made her turf debut going 7.5 furlongs and was last in the opening stages and then closed to finish third with a 111 late pace rating on Bristnet. Now in 2 starts, she's shown she's a late closer, and she was likely compromised by a slow pace in her turf debut, but I expect a hotter pace here today. We have the 11 for Patrick Biancone likely to go to the front, and Sheree DeVos runner, the number 2 Alone Time, shows a lot of speed. I think the 3 Abigail will press the pace, so with a hotter pace and added ground, I expect huge improvement. Second turf start for Dandana, and she's getting Flavian Proud aboard and working out very well at Gulfstream ahead of her second start off the layoff. So I thought it was good value there. You get 5-1 on the 5, and I think a late closer has a potential for a really good setup in this race.
Yeah, pace makes the race is the saying that we often hear when we look at, and especially turf races too, right? If you get a fast pace on the turf, most likely, I can say that, you're going to see a horse coming from off the pace to get the top prize.
Yeah, definitely the case with a lot of dirt races too, but I think in turf races you see it happen a lot, and even in sprints you see 5 furlong sprints, you can see a late closer come from out of nowhere.
Yep. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Dandana 6-1 on the morning line. You know, James Scully was on with me here last weekend, Ashley, and he declared this a no chalk zone. So we can't be taking chalk in these spots here today.
I agree, and we were on the TwinSpires jury on Thursday, and James referenced that again. We actually, none of us went with chalk in our 3 races that we discussed. So I like to stay away from the chalk zone as much as possible, and I'm trying to do that today too.
Dan Donna offers some value in here. How about number 7, Time to Dream, who is 5-2 on the morning line? And looking at the back class angle with this filly, it would appear as if 5-2 would be a good price if you can get it on this Todd Pletcher runner.
So for me personally, I have to toss Time to Dream simply because I was burned in the Jessamine. And then when you saw the way she ran in the juvenile fillies turf, I've just lost some faith in this horse. And I think 5-2 is too short for me after, especially with the Jessamine, just the way that horse, that was a weird race. There was a huge long shot that won that day, and Time to Dream ended up finishing a length in third. But I'm just not feeling as confident in this horse. Maybe there's improvement off a 4-month layoff, but I think this is a good chance to play a different horse here because I need to see more. I almost want to be proven. I want Time to Dream to prove me wrong, and then maybe I'll consider this horse in the future.
Ashley, you sound like a grizzled, bitter horse player. I was burned in the Jessamine by this horse. But that's the thing. I mean, I know a lot of times if I play a horse and, it gets in trouble, let's say, I'll give it a second shot. And then if it has no excuse, I'm like, all right, I'm done with you. I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you got to learn from your mistakes. And sometimes those horses come back around, but I'm going to wait and see with Time to Dream.
Okay, looking for value in race number 10 at Tampa Bay Downs. Number 5, Dan Donna, 6-1 on the morning line, Ashley's top pick. How about the Tampa Bay Derby? That's race 11, 5:35 Eastern. The Post, mile and a 16th for the 3-year-old boys. Essentially a win and you're in for the Kentucky Derby. $400,000 on the line, too. Who wins this one?
So I just talked very negatively about a Rapoli horse, and now I'm going to talk positively about one Power Shift, number 5, who is 7-2 on the morning line. Now you have a Chad Brown runner who's going to be coming from the outside, who's going to go straight to the front in Canaletto, 5-2, Further Ado. I talked about who is a very heavy morning line favorite here, 9-5, who is coming off back-to-back wins. But I thought this was a good chance to play a horse that's going to come from a little bit farther back. Power Shift is still a maiden, but was barely beaten on debut. And Todd Pletcher, the trainer, has 6 wins in this race, the Tampa Bay Derby, so that's another feather in Power Shift's cap. But looking at that debut performance, had a 98% speed figure, the highest last race speed figure among this field, and recorded a 103 late pace rating. This horse is eligible to improve in a second route race, bred to go long. The Constitution colt, who's out of a stakes-winning Quiet American mare. Of course, Quiet American sired Real Quiet, the Derby and Preakness winner in 1998. And I think Power Shift gets a good setup here to come from a little bit further back, and you get a better price than you're going to get on Canaletto as well as Further Ado. Now, if you want a big price, I also think Hulkamania could be in play, at least to hit the board here. This is a colt that went on debut at Tampa Bay Downs going 7 furlongs, and trainer Whit Beckman doing very well at Tampa. So I thought Hulkamania, big price if you want to throw a big price in there, but more realistically, Power Shift shows a lot of upside to me and coming in as a maiden, but just barely coming in as a maiden in this race.
Ashley, I've often looked at Tampa Bay Downs and said the surface is different than other racetracks in South Florida, Gulfstream in particular, right? And if you handle the surface well, then you can say, okay, this is a horse we should look at in their next start when they come back to Tampa Bay Downs. If a horse is running there for the first time, like Further Ado is going to try doing, it can be a little bit more challenging and maybe a dicier play. Is that another reason that you take a shot against them?
For me, Further Ado is a horse that, every time I've tried to play against this horse, I've been wrong. The horse won by 20 lengths.
Again,
and won the
it comes
Kentucky
back
Jockey.
to being bitter.
It's another one of these. But I think you can look at that. With Brad Cox, he's good with shippers, let's be honest. Like, he's a 27% winner with horses that ship it. And this Further Ado has been working out very well at Payson Park. But there is a chance that running first time over Tampa Bay Downs doesn't do as well. So there are plenty of horses in here that have form over Tampa Bay Downs surface. So if you're looking for a reason to potentially shy away from Further Ado or even Canaletto, neither of them have run at Tampa Bay Downs, but you do have the Puma has some form over this track, and there's a couple others, including my pick, that has run very well over Tampa Bay Downs. So it's certainly possible that Further Ado just doesn't like the track, and I suppose we'll find out today.
Yeah, interesting group, but Ashley will take number 5, Power Shift, 7-2. John Velasquez, Todd Pletcher. They've never won a race together, have they? They're always dangerous. And, of course, the Rapoli colors going aboard Power Shift later today. We'll see if that could be a little bit of an upset in the Tampa Bay Derby. All right, Ashley, one more to get to, race number 12. It is the finale on this program here today. Maiden special weight for the 3-year-old ladies, mile and the 16th on the turf. Another good-sized field here. Probably some value to be had, I would assume.
I think so. This is an interesting field. We have a couple of Chad Brown runners in here again, and they are short prices, but one is coming off a very lengthy layoff of more than 7 months and making their U.S. debut. And then you also have a first-time starter, the 8 Fun Flows, going to have Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard, and then the 11 is going to have Flavian Pratt aboard. So very, very good jockeys that are aboard 2 Chad Brown runners here. But looking at the variable of the long layoff or the first-time start, I thought there was a chance to go for value, and I landed on the 10, Consider Me First, who's trained by Bill Mott. This horse was running over Tampa Bay Downs turf last out and was beat in the neck that day, but didn't have the cleanest trip. Was bumped at the start and then bumped again in later stages of the race. Now going to be racing on Lasix a second time and making her second start off a layoff, which high percentage for Bill Mott. You're going to have Junior Alvarado picking up the mount, and this horse has the highest last race speed rating, actually tied among the field. It's a 71. It's not the highest speed figure here, but this is a field made up of a lot of first-time starters or some horses trying turf for the first time. So I'm going to take a horse that already has run well over the turf, and specifically Tampa's turf.
5-1 on the morning line. So again, sticking with the theme of a no chalk zone here on the TwinSpires Triple Play. Consider Me First, Junior Alvarado aboard for Bill Mott, the top pick of Ashley in race number 12. So races 10, 11, 12. Let's recap the 3 selections. Ashley, race 10, you'll take number 5, Dandana, at odds of 6-1. Race 11, the Tampa Bay Derby, you'll go with Todd Pletcher, Johnny V. Number 5, Power Shift at 7-2. And in race 12, number 10, Consider Me First at odds of 5-1. And we started this segment talking about the promotions with TwinSpires on these 3 races. Let's hit that again before I let you go.
Right, we have that Road to the Kentucky Derby $10 bet back offer. So again, a bonus bet up to $10 back on your first win bet if your horse finishes second or third. In races at Tampa Bay Downs, it'll be races 10, 11, and 12, and then Santa Anita races 8 and 10. We also, I wanted to quickly say we have a number of tournaments going on today, plus a $2,000 late pick 5 hit it and split it at Santa Anita. And then I wanted to quickly mention, too, that TwinSpires is now available in Mississippi, so we're excited to support our Mississippi horse players.
Yep, that's really cool. I like that. That's fantastic news. You mentioned earlier that you were playing against Bob Baffert in the San Felipe later today. Do you want to reveal your pick and who's going to beat Bob Baffert in that race?
So I went with the 3, Secured Freedom, who is trained by Tim Yagteen, going to come from off the pace. I think the 2 and the 3, they're both going to have potentially similar trips here. The 2 is trained by Dan Blacker, and if you watch the TwinSpires jury, the 2 is Darren's pick. I went with the 3. You're getting great value on both. The 2 is 12-1. The 3 is 8-1. But looking at the fact that Brandt, I'm assuming, goes out to the front, the 5 Potente for Bob Baffert as well, at least went to the front last time on debut. But I don't know what the plan is, who Bob Baffert actually wants to get the lead. But both those horses will be forwardly placed as well as the 7. So I thought, once again, I'm going with an off-the-pace runner here, and Secure Freedom, I think, has a lot of upside coming out of the Grade 3 Robert B. Lewis and going to be trying a route for the second time. So, yeah, I went with value here to try to beat those Baffert runners.
A bonus play for you here this morning on the TwinSpires quadruple play on this Saturday morning. Ashley, appreciate it as always. Good luck with those selections and all the races you're going to play this weekend. And again, we'll encourage everybody to make sure they're taking advantage of those promotions at TwinSpires and that they're betting all the races they're going to play with TwinSpires. Have a lovely weekend.
You too.
All right, Ashley Anderson, TwinSpires quadruple play here this morning. A bonus bet for you. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History coming your way next. But if you missed it in the first couple of hours of the program, this is your Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question for this Saturday morning. Who is the oldest living Kentucky Derby winning horse, and how old is he? That's your question for this morning. You can go to our social media pages and put your answers in there. You can email the show and let me know your thoughts to that question, but get your mojo working, see if you can come up with it. I will reveal the answer to this week's Impossible Trivia question coming up at the end of the show, right around 10:55 Eastern. Lots to get to. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History. Dale Tim, still to come at 10:30 Eastern. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The road to the Kentucky Derby once again passes through Colonial Downs. On Saturday, March 14th, the $500,000 Virginia Derby will be run as a Road to the Kentucky Derby points race. Last year's winner, American Promise, went on to run in the Derby and Preakness. Join us for a history-making day that also includes the $250,000 Virginia Oaks, a Kentucky Oaks points race. Colonial Downs Spring Meet runs March 12th through March 14th. Host time 12:30 Eastern Thursday and Friday, noon Eastern on Virginia Derby Day, Saturday, March 14th.
Tenda Equine and Pet Care products have been keeping world-class equine athletes happy and healthy for generations. Keep your equine athlete looking and performing well with Tenda Next Generation Wound and Skin Care Treatment, along with nutritional supplements, leg and muscle care products, salves, hoof care, poultice, topical aids, and grooming products. Visit tendahorse.com today.
Fans, a tremendous day of racing excitement and entertainment await you here at the Great Race Place, Santa Anita Park. Look at the racing lineup. We have 11 big races and 4 big stakes races, highlighted by the Big Cap, presented by Yamava Casino and Resort at San Manuel. My favorite race today is the San Felipe, pitting So Happy against Brand. That race is going to be a humdinger. And to attack those races, we have a tremendous wagering menu that includes the retail-only First Coast to Coast Pick 5, a $5 late daily double, a $3 all turf pick 3, and a $3 late pick 3, all with a low 15% take on. Don't forget the very popular $2 traditional pick 6. To enhance the big day, we have a Big Cab hat giveaway for first reward members, a family fun zone in the infield all weekend long, and the ever popular Fiesta Santa Anita with great food, music, and my favorite Lucha Libre. For all the details, go to santanita.com today. Come out to the Great Race Place.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history, presented by Keeneland. Greg in Illinois asked us recently if we would feature a filly named Optimistic Gal on the stroll, as he fondly remembers watching her run at Keeneland in the 1970s. And since March is Optimism Month, we figured there was no better time to highlight the filly with the optimistic name. Foaled on April 29, 1973 in Kentucky, Optimistic Gal was a dark bay or brown filly by Sir Ivor. She was from his second crop, and she was the first foal out of Hopes Ahead by Traffic Judge. Her American-bred sire was Horse of the Year in the United Kingdom, while her dam won twice in 17 starts and earned less than $7,000. Consigned by breeder Bertram Linder to the summer yearling sales in 1974, Optimistic Gal caught the eye of trainer Leroy Jolly, who was shopping for fillies for clients Bert and Diana Firestone. Jolly liked the fact Optimistic Gal was a lovely filly, as he put it, and she had an absence of Bold Ruler Nasrullah Niarco blood, which would make her perfect for breeding someday to Triple Crown winner Secretariat, in whom the Firestones owned shares. Purchased for $55,000, Optimistic Gal would make her debut as a juvenile in 1975, and, racing in the name of Mrs. Bertram Firestone, would win her first 2 starts by a combined margin of nearly 10 lengths. Following a Grade 1 placing in the sorority at Monmouth Park behind Dearly Precious, she would win the Grade 3 Adirondack at Saratoga for her first stakes victory, cruising under the wire nearly 10 lengths to the good. Another runner-up finish to Dearly Precious in the Grade 1 Spinaway made the latter the front-runner for the Eclipse Award for champion 2-year-old filly. But Dearly Precious concluded her campaign soon thereafter, while Optimistic Gal began racking up graded stakes wins in her absence. There was a win in the Grade 1 Matron under jockey Braulio Baeza by 6.5 lengths in September, followed by a victory in the Grade 1 Frizette by 3 3/4 lengths on October 4th. Then on October 18th, on a sloppy track at Keeneland, she romped home in the graded Alcibiades by a margin of 21 lengths. Optimistic Gal added another Grade 1 win on October 25th, taking the Salima at Laurel Racecourse for jockey Daryl McHarg. She got the mile and a 16th in 1 minute 42 4/5 seconds, missing the track record by just 1/5 of a second. Despite that late-season flurry of successes by Optimistic Gal, voters named Dearly Precious champion juvenile filly of 1975. The fact Dearly Precious had won both head-to-head meetings between the fillies was enough to carry the day. Optimistic Gal returned to the races in April of 1976 and opened her season with back-to-back wins at Keeneland, including a score in the Grade 3 Ashland. 13 days later, she captured the 102nd running of the Kentucky Oaks at Churchill Downs. After finishing runner-up as the favorite in all 3 legs of New York's Filly Triple Crown, and after finishing 6th in the Grade 3 Test Stakes at Saratoga, Optimistic Gal regrouped from that 4-race winless streak to take the Grade 1 Alabama at the Spa by 16 lengths, with Eddie Maple aboard. Optimistic Gal got the 1 1/4 miles in 2 minutes 1 3/5 seconds, making for the fastest running ever of the race to that date, the race itself dating back to 1872. And Optimistic Gal wasn't done. 3 weeks after the Alabama, Optimistic Gal was sent to Delaware Park for the Grade 1 Delaware Handicap. Jolly chose to skip the Gazelle, where his filly would have carried 124 pounds against 3-year-olds in New York, instead opting for the Delaware event against Older to get a 5-pound break in the weight for age race. With Eddie Maple once again in the saddle, Optimistic Gal went to the post as the 2-5 favorite and got the 10 furlongs in 2:01 flat, becoming just the 7th 3-year-old to win the race in 39 runnings. For the final start of her career, Optimistic Gal returned to Keeneland, where she was already 3 for 3 lifetime, for the 21st running of the Grade 1 Spinster. The day was described as dismal and rainy, and the track was sloppy. Craig Perrette was named to ride, and he had visited the Firestones farm in Virginia a few days earlier to study film of the fillies' prior races. Going to the post as the 2-5 favorite, Optimistic Gal made her move on the final turn and was on top by 10 lengths turning for home. She was handwritten to the wire from there to win by a margin of 5 lengths. Optimistic Gal concluded her racing career with 13 wins and 21 starts, including 6 Grade 1 victories for earnings of $686,000. But she was once again denied by Eclipse Award voters at the end of the year, as losses to a filly named Revadeer in both the Coaching Club American Oaks and the Ruffian Stakes resulted in the latter claiming championship honors. It had been a remarkable racing career nonetheless for Optimistic Gal, who would produce 14 foals but just 1 stakes horse as a broodmare prior to her death in 1999 at the age of 26. It has been 50 years since Optimistic Gal graced the racetrack, yet folks like Greg in Southern Illinois remember her well. They have never forgotten the graceful and versatile filly or the visually impressive victories which made her a champion in the hearts of her fans. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Nobody weaves a story together like Kurt Becker. My thanks to Kurt for that story. If you missed any of Kurt's Stroll Through Racing History segments, check out the Stroll Through Racing History page on our website, horseracingradio.net, and you can listen to all of those shows. And don't forget, too, about our weekly Brisnet.com call-in show, 6 to 7 Eastern, every Thursday with Bobby Neuman and James Scully. It is your chance to call in and talk racing with our experts. Every Thursday, 6 to 7 Eastern, here on HRRN. Coming up next, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
You're listening to HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
A Keeneland session topper from the first crop of the all-conquering Vekoma. Jonathan's Way was touted by purchaser John Moynihan as, quote, one of the best-looking horses you'll ever lay your eyes on. Out of an undefeated stakes-winning juvenile daughter of Indian Charlie, Jonathan's Way is a complete outcross through his first 5 generations and comes from the immediate female family of the great Dynaformer. Brilliantly talented with the pedigree and physical makeup to be commercial dynamite. Jonathan's Way, a future stallion star standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
The road to the Kentucky Derby once again passes through Colonial Downs. On Saturday, March 14th, the $500,000 Virginia Derby will be run as a Road to the Kentucky Derby points race. Last year's winner, American Promise, went on to run in the Derby and Preakness. Join us for a history-making day that also includes the $250,000 Virginia Oaks, a Kentucky Oaks points race. Colonial Downs Spring Meet runs March 12th through March 14th. Post time 12:30 Eastern Thursday and Friday, noon Eastern on Virginia Derby Day, Saturday, March 14th.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
Moving up on the outside and challenging is Chief Wallaby. Dropping back is Rocky's Balboa. They reach the first finish line, top of the stretch mark. On the outside, Chief Wallaby lays down the challenge to Solitude Dude. Commandment with a big opening toward the rail. The Red Sea parts for Commandment, and he's charging after Chief Wallaby to the first finish line. Commandment on the inside, Chief Wallaby to the outside. Commandment with the momentum. Chief Wallaby makes him earn it. Commandment, Chief Wallaby. Commandment wins the Fountain of Youth. It's Commandment for the money narrowly over Chief Wallaby second, Solitude Dude third, then Bravaro and fifth for the high five, Napoleon Solo, 143-1.
Pete Aiello with a call of the Fountain of Youth, a third consecutive eye-opening victory for Commandment, who is surely a buy for most Kentucky Derby handicappers, but are Dale and Tim sold on what they've seen from the talented son of Into Mischief? Plus, with foreign horses now able to earn points for the Kentucky Derby, has the time come to consider increasing the size of the Derby field? And Naira and Woodbine have partnered to create the Empire Trillium Series. We tell you if we like it, love it, or hate it. All of that coming up on another loaded edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf rider Tim Wilkin, all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business, and all starting just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
Dale, Tim, ready to roll. A mix of listener-submitted questions, a couple I came up with. Guys, we're going to start with one of our favorite games to play here on the show. It is buy or sell, and we're going to look back at the races from last weekend as they pertain to the Kentucky Derby picture. We will start with Gotham winner Iron Honor, who ran his record to a perfect 2 for 2 with his win in last Saturday's Gotham. Tim Wilkin, buy or sell?
I'm selling this one, and only because just the history of the Gotham and as it pertains to the Derby, and we've gone over this, it seems like 100,000 times, but there's only been one Gotham winner that's ever won the Derby. That was Secretariat, and since 1980, 49 horses have exited the Gotham. There's only been 2 second-place finishes out of all those. I mean, Chad is... This is a nice horse, though, but don't get me wrong. And Chad Brown places his horses just as well as anybody in the game, where he, the schedule he puts them on, and it looks like he's going to go to the Wood next. And but it seems like Chad has used the Wood for a prep for the Preakness rather than the Derby. But with cloud computing, early voting was the Withers. But he's had two of the 9 horses he's run in the Derby. He's only ran in the Gotham twice. That was with Highly Motivated, who was 3rd in the Gotham, 9th in the Derby. And then Shaggoff in 2016, who won the Gotham and then didn't finish. So, I think this is a nice horse. I think he's going to do some good things later on, but I don't think it's going to be on the first Saturday night.
Dale, he's by Nyquist out of a Blame mare. That's a pretty good pedigree if you want to go 1.25 miles.
Not bad, but I'm selling too. I just don't think he's good enough. Don't think the race was good enough. There's better horses out there. So let's sell. Yeah, give me my horn. Let's sell.
All right. Well, Dale, how about a race you participated in last weekend, the Fountain of Youth? The winner, Commandment, rattled off a 3rd consecutive victory in impressive fashion for trainer Brad Cox. Are you buying or selling Commandment, Dale Romans?
Buying. I'm buying the first 2 finishers in the race. I think they're both talented horses. We talked last week how much the best of all the races this race was, and it lived up to its billing.
Lee, give it to him. There it is. The cash register rings for Dale Romans, buying Commandment, and runner-up Chief Wallaby, who was going to be my next horse to talk about anyway. Tim, how about for you?
So Dale jumped the gun. He's way ahead of the game today.
Yeah.
He's a savant.
I didn't get my cha-ching until late.
Well, I'm buying Commandment for sure. That Fountain of Youth, an impressive win. He just looks like in a 2-turn race. He just looked like he's going to get better as the distances increase. So, I don't see anything. I don't see any holes right now in him.
How about Chief Wallaby?
Well, if you buy Commandment, you gotta buy Chief Wallaby. He was a game as they come second. Where's my sound? Thanks, Lee. He's that was his second start after breaking a maiden, and Bill Mott wanted to get some questions answered in that race, and he got them answered. And I'm not going to go against him, who I think is one of the best trainers we've ever had, and I think that he's going to have some things to say as we go deeper into the Triple Crown season.
All right, I'm going to tie these next 2 horses together because they were 1-2 in the Rebel last weekend. Class President, upset winner of the Rebel for Todd Pletcher, and the Mark Casse-trained Silent Tactic, who has never been worse than second in 5 career starts. He was once again game in defeat in the Rebel last weekend. Tim, buy or sell Class President and Silent Tactic?
Now, this might seem weird, but I'm going to sell Class President and buy Silent Tactic. There you go. Silent Tactic has been very consistent. Class President ran a bang-up race, winning by a nose in that at 8-1. I think he's on the lower end of the Todd Pletcher 3-year-olds, but Silent Tactic, Mark Casse sends him out, and he always shows up. So I think he has more of the upside, in my opinion.
Sell them both. Yeah, not good enough. Turn the page. Don't need to go into detail. They're just not good enough to make the Derby horses an impact on the Derby.
Okay.
All right, we're going to find out.
That's my opinion, right? We'll find out. Let's have a poll about it.
There you go.
Dale loves his poll. We'll rank them, Dale. Why don't we rank them?
Yeah. All right, we'll rank them 17 and 18, whatever we're ranking.
Dale, I think you should do a ranking on what are the best polls out there.
Right.
Because you love them so much.
I'll do that, yeah.
There's only one poll he cares about right now.
Senatorial race in Kentucky. I don't really even care about that. It was too early for that. Running for office like running a race. Line them up and see what happens. So let them go vote and see who wins. We don't need all the polls.
Well, this next question is really interesting. It stays with the 3-year-old. Shane in North Carolina, our good friend, submits this one. He's trying to get back in your good graces, Dale. I'll talk about that in a minute. Which trainer currently holds the strongest triple threat of Derby contenders? Is it Todd Pletcher, who has nearly class president in Renegade, Chad Brown, Paladin, Canaletto, who is 5-2 on the morning line in the Tampa Bay Derby, and Iron Honor, or is it Bob Baffert with Brant, Boyd, and Cherokee Nation, who was impressive last week as well? Tim, what do you think?
This is an interesting question from our pal Shane. When you have first weekend in March, second weekend in March, it's still too early to say who has the best of the 3-year-olds. But from what we've seen so far, and if you go by the points, which is everyone has to get points to get into the Derby, you'd have to say right now that Chad Brown, right? I mean, because Paladin has 60 points, Iron Honor has 50, even though I'm not wild about him. Canaletto doesn't have any, but
he might after today.
He may, but Todd nearly only has 20 points. Renegade has 25. But nearly was impressive winning the Holy Bull by 5 and change lengths. Renegade won the Sam Davis. We saw what class president did last week. And, I think you got to give an incomplete grade to Baffert because Brant has 9 points. Cherokee Nation 3. Boyd doesn't have any. I mean, Brant is running the San Felipe today. And Boyd, I believe, is going to run the Virginia Derby next week. And Cherokee Nation, we might not see him till the Santa Anita Derby. So as far as who would be holding the good hand right now, point-wise, I guess you'd have to say Chad Brown because he has the most points. But, boy, I do. And Paladin is a horse that I like. He's my number one pick in the NTRA poll. So I'm going to say Chad Brown for right now.
Dale, Bob Baffert's not going to be happy Timmy didn't go with him.
No, but I was sitting there thinking, you sure are lucky you don't have to pay Tim by the word.
It's all that research.
He talked so long, I forgot what the question was.
Well, if we paid you by the word, you'd be going out collecting cans.
Yeah, you're right, but that's because I got off an airplane and don't do any research, and I do want to thank you for carrying the show today because I have no idea what we were going to talk about. But that is a very interesting question, and that's one I was sitting there thinking while Tim was talking that I wish I had looked up and paid attention to, and I want to go back and research it. But off the top of my head, I would go with Chad. I think Chad's got a very strong hand, but that's an interesting. Who's got the top 3 horses? We ought to figure out some way to make a bet on that.
I mean, it could be in flux. It could change every week.
It could. It would be interesting. It's like betting the futures.
Well, I mentioned that our friend Shane is trying to get back in Dale's good graces. Last week, Dale said that's it. He's not getting the barn tour when he goes to the Kentucky Derby for his birthday gift that his wife has bought for him. Shane really wants to do that with you, Dale, so he feels bad about not asking you about the Fountain of Youth and your horse last weekend. So he wants to know if you can give him an update on Project Ace.
Now he's really in the doghouse.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Project Ace had a little injury, and he's off the Derby trail, and I had just stopped thinking about it.
Shane, don't even bother going to the Derby.
Yeah, don't even come. Sell your tickets, go to StubHub, you'll make some money.
This poor fella, he just keeps doubling down.
He just digging. We'll try again next. I was going to let him off the hook already because he asked such an interesting question, but now he's really back in the doghouse. So I just quit fretting about that.
So if he's in the doghouse,
he will be back and win the Travers. So we'll worry about that this summer.
If he's in the doghouse, is the door locked?
Not yet. He can still get. I don't hold grudges, Tim. You know that.
I do know that, but sometimes the punishment has to be given out.
Right. Well,
he's got a few more chances. He's got a few more chances to get back on Dale's good side.
Yeah, one good question, he'll be back in.
Yeah, just pick a horse that's still in training, will you, Shane?
Exactly.
All right, well, let's say hello to the Hall of Famer, Nick Zito, and Dale and Tim get to tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Guys, this comes from our friend Tom in St. Louis, and he says, hey, there always seems to be a solid 3-year-old or two who finds themselves on the outside looking in when the Derby field is drawn. With spots now being given to foreign horses, is it time to consider increasing the size of the Derby field to 23? You would have 20 of the top American qualifiers, 3 foreign qualifiers. What do you guys think? Would a move like this be right or wrong?
Who's asking this question?
Tom in St. Louis.
That might be the worst, dumbest question we've ever asked. Everybody in the industry is trying to fight to cut it back and change the whole dynamic of it. I'm fighting to hold it for 20 because of the history, and this guy wants to make it 23. No, it's never going to happen. Turks have just spent a lot of money on a 20-horse gate, and how can it get 23? They did run it 21 or 22 one time. Remember when somebody sued, they didn't get in, the judge made them run?
1981, they ran 21.
21, yeah. Mythical Ruler was the horse on the outside that wanted to get in. They sued and let him in. Freddie Worth trained him, ridden by Kevin Worth, my good friend.
Dale, you don't like the idea of a 3-horse auxiliary starting gate?
No, nothing about it. Don't like anything about it. It's 5 minutes of talking about this. It's 5 minutes of our life we'll never get back.
Timmy, what do you think?
I just think, I don't know, maybe Tom was into the Rosetta wine or something when he wrote up this question because, 20 horses is, in my opinion, way too much. But since 75, okay, that's when they limited it to 20. And since then, they've only had 20 horses 14 times. It's a stampede, is what it is, and you put 3 more horses in there. I just think you're asking for trouble. And I get why they have 20 because a lot of people want to run in the Kentucky Derby, and I get that. But it could be such a dangerous proposition. Remember the Ali Sheba race? I love the Kentucky Derby, but I hate the fact that, it's almost like it's an accident waiting to happen. 20 horses is a lot of horses, but making it 23, that would be insane.
Well, Tom, we love your questions normally, but apparently today this one didn't go over very well. Try again next week, my friend, and keep those questions coming.
We still love Tom.
We do love Tom. He's with us every single week here on the show, so we know we can give him a hard time. He's a good guy. All right, guys, appreciate it. We're going to do that segment, right or wrong, next week as part of I Ask the Answer. We do it every week with the Hall of Famer Nick Zito. How about this one, guys? This week, Naira and Woodbine announced a new partnership in which the two companies will create the Empire Trillium Series. It's a 14-race program of stakes restricted to New York or Canadian-bred foals worth $3.2 million in purses. Here's the way it works. 8 stakes will be contested on the Tapeta surface at the new Belmont Park between December of 2026 and February of 2026. And then 6 more stakes are going to be run at Woodbine between April and July of 2027. We often talk about thinking outside the box. This is a creative concept. So I'm going to ask you, Tim Wilkin, do you like it, do you love it, or do you hate it?
I like it. Anything that's going to increase the exposure to racing is a good thing, and this should increase the exposure to racing, and it's a boost for the Northeast region, man. You're going to have owners and breeders and trainers, and everyone I think will be interested in it because money talks in this game, and they're putting some good money up, and I don't see any negative at all for this series. I think it's a great idea, and applaud Woodbine and the Naira for putting it together. I think it's going to be great.
I don't know if it's going to be great, but it's a nice idea to try. It's not a novel idea, though. If you remember, Frank Stronach had the competition of California against Florida breds, and I like that. I thought that went well for a few years, and then the breeding programs in both states kind of dwindled so much I don't think you get enough horses. But if they get enough horses, it'll be a great idea. But what's it called again?
The Empire Trillium.
Quintillion.
No, trillium.
What's that mean?
I don't know.
I can
Google
understand that. Yeah, somebody Google that. Where'd they come up with this name? I understand the Empire part, Empire State, but is that something to do with
Canadian thing?
That's what I'm asking. Is it a Canadian term that we don't know about? They could have called it the Empire Tariffs race or something.
Yeah, the only time I've ever heard the term used it had something to do with plants or something. But, here you go. Lee says, a plant with a solitary 3-petaled flower above a whorl of 3 leaves, native to North America and Asia.
What's that got to do with horse racing?
Yeah, where in the hell did they come up with that?
Ask Naira. Ask Woodbine.
I'm going to call Mark Holiday when we hang up and ask him.
There has to be another meaning to the word. If somebody knows it, go ahead and send it to us. That's what comes up.
The flower has to have some meaning to Canada. But is that their national flower or something?
Don't know.
I don't know. Well, stay tuned. We'll let you know next week.
I got it. I tell you what. The Trillium Stakes is a Canadian thoroughbred horse race run annually at Woodbine. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, I don't know. It still doesn't make sense to name a series after a race.
Well,
there's a reason that race run at Woodbine is probably named that. We got to get to the bottom of it.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to make it a priority.
Timmy, thank goodness for Stephen in Rochester, New York, because he submitted a topic that we can move on to at this point in the show. And Stephen loves when his man Tim Wilkin shows off his researching skills. So, Tim, he wants to know which horses you consider to be some of the greatest full siblings in racing history. And, Dale, if you have one or two you want to throw in there, feel free. But, Tim, what do you think?
Boy, my man put me on the spot on this one, didn't he?
Black horses, yours go back.
I got a couple. I mean, in recent times, I mean, I wouldn't call them the greatest in history, but, you know, Mage won the Kentucky Derby in 23, and his full brother Dornoch won the Fountain of Youth in the Belmont the year after. They were both by Good Magic out of the mare Puka. You go back in history, I mean, some are across the globe, but they're horses that people remember. Frankel, the great Frankel, who was 14 for 14 in his career, had a brother named Noble Mission, who was 2014 older horse champion in Europe. He had 9 wins and 21 starts, 6 seconds. And if you go farther back, the horse named Rydan, who was well known for finishing second in the Travers to Jaipur in 1962. They went around the track virtually as a team. He had a sister named Moccasin, who was the champion 2-year-old filly in 65, I want to say. I think she was the first 2-year-old to ever become a horse of the year. And they Rydan and they were full brother and sister. And if you go way, way back, Omaha, the Triple Crown winner of 35, had a brother named Flares who went over to Europe and was a pretty dominant horse over there in 1938. So that's what I got for you.
That's brilliant research.
That was way too deep. I'm going off the top of my head. I'll go to Frere and DeHare, AP Indy, Summer Squall. What's the filly's name Todd won the Belmont with?
Rags to Riches.
Rags to Riches and her brother both won the Belmont. And had the Japanese horse that tried to do it. That's
who was Rags
off the top of my head.
Who was Rags to Riches' brother? I don't think there was ever a brother-sister.
Wasn't it? It wasn't her. It was 2 Belmont winners. It might not have been her. I thought it was her, but didn't that have 3 or 4 really good foals?
I don't know if there's any ever classic winners that were related. I'm not. I don't think. When all the work I was doing on that, I didn't see any. I'm going to do.
Yeah, another interesting question. Yeah, from Stephen in Rochester. Guys, we've got about 3 minutes left in the show. We've got to move on. Tim, real quick, last week you said you had a good story about Williamstown, Massachusetts when I talked about visiting Pownell, Vermont. You have time to tell it real quick?
Yeah, and it was the early 90s. I was playing softball with my brother's team from the Schenectady Gazette newspaper because I wouldn't play with the Albany Times Union because I didn't like any of them. But we went out there to play the Williamstown Theater Group, and playing first base for the Williamstown team was none other than Superman, Christopher Reeve. And they had a huge crowd there. They brought an organ out, all the actors, and they were there. And we only had about 8 guys, but we played them pretty tough. And after the game, Christopher Reeve came over and talked to us about where the rest of our team was. He sat down and had a beer with us. He was really nice. And one of these idiots on our team says, well, we would have had more guys, but the other guys were out looking for the kryptonite. So Christopher Reeve said, okay, that's great. See you later. Goodbye.
That's pretty good. That was pretty funny. I got a laugh out of it. But how you play a baseball game with 8 players? Like I had to have 9.
We were pretty good.
Okay.
It's a fantastic story. Christopher Reeve, a native of Williamstown, if I'm not mistaken. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
perfect sense. That's a great story, Timmy. All right, guys. By the way, before we get to our final point of the week, Lee just sent me a quick message here. The white trillium is the official flower and floral emblem of Ontario, Canada, adopted in 1937. So there's that. And then the siblings that both won the Belmont Stakes are Jazzle in 06 and Rat to Riches in 07. They are half siblings by different sires, not full siblings.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there's been halves.
I listed half siblings on most of them.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Tim Wilkin, what's your final point of the week, my friend?
Lisa Lazarus is going to hate my guts for this, but today is National Cereal Day. And I think the national cereal for everyone should be Wheaties because it's the breakfast of champions. Stay away from the Fruit Loops and the Frosted Flakes and the Fruity Pebbles because they're not any good for you.
Wheaties.
Now, what am I supposed to follow up with on that after that one? Tim, this is one of your best shows you ever did. I just think everybody should commend Tim for the number of words he fit into a 30-minute program. We'll see you next week.
We'll do it all over again next Saturday. By the way, I'm a Honey Nut Cheerios guy when it comes to cereal.
I'm with you.
Okay, you can take that. That's all right.
Only. Yep, I'm with you there.
All right, guys, appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend. Good luck at the races. We'll do it all over again next Saturday morning.
All right,
see you next week.
Remember, if you have a topic you want to hear Dale and Tim discuss, you can email it to us, mike@horseracingradio.net. It's not always that hostile here on the show, so feel free to do it. We'll get it worked into the program going forward. I Ask the Answer is presented every week by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. I'm back with more, including the answer to this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question next on the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
I always tell people I was the luckiest guy in the world. I wanted to be an Army man or a fireman, and I got to do both. As a firefighter, my job was about saving lives. I never thought one day I would be fighting for mine.
After spending his career answering the call to save others, Ken was diagnosed with ALS. Now he's facing his biggest battle, for more time. For 70 years, Muscular Dystrophy Association has been answering the call to help people live longer and more independent lives.
MDA means to me hope.
MDA is leading the way for people living with ALS, muscular dystrophy, and other neuromuscular diseases by accelerating research, advancing care, and advocating to empower families like Ken's.
I wouldn't be living as good of a life with ALS if it wasn't for MDA. MDA is helping people live stronger and love longer. Learn more at mda.org today.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcast using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Well, breeding season is here, and your planning isn't complete without the free Global Stallions app from Blood Horse and Weatherbees. Browse stallions worldwide and view the standard stallion register page, stud analysis by full crop and racing year, up-to-date stakes winners and results, upcoming entries, auction results, and much, much more. Search from Global Stallions app wherever in the app and Play Store. Make sure you check that out. What a show. Talked about all the major racing coming up this weekend, and I'm sure there are others that we didn't quite get to, but we did talk about the Azeri. We talked about the Tampa Bay Derby. We talked about the big day out in California, Big Cap Day, coming up later this afternoon. I hope you're ready for it. Time now for the answer to this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. Lee Delapina, what do you got?
Thank you, Mike. Who is the oldest living Kentucky Derby winning horse, and how old is he? That, of course, is the great Silver Charm. At age 32, he's still enjoying his retirement at Old Friends Farm. Thanks to Mojo Racing Partners for this week's Impossible Trivia question. Get your mojo working at mojoracingpartners.com.
Yeah, Silver Charm just celebrated a birthday, too, so a happy belated birthday to Silver Charm on behalf of all of us here at HRRN. Fun show with Dale and Tim, as always. My thanks to them for helping to make this show and every show that we do for you here on Saturday mornings possible. Kurt Becker for his Stroll Through Racing History, and to Ashley Anderson for this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. My thanks, too, to all of our guests who joined me to talk about the big racing coast to coast coming up this weekend. I hope all of you have good luck in betting the races. Just make sure you're doing it with our friends at TwinSpires. My thanks to Lee Delapina in our Lexington studio, Chauncey for handling all of our social media. Don't forget, if you missed any portion of the show, you can get the podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or your favorite podcast platform, wherever you access your podcast. Continue to follow us on social media at HRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. I'm Mike Penna. Thanks for listening to the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. We'll talk to you next week. Go Steelers.